venture capital of the United States will see 10 world-class teams battle the complexities of New York Harbor. $2 million is on the line, and emotions are at an all-time high.
Actually, let him blow, Let's go this again.
Welcome to SailGP in New York City, where every point matters.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best, yes. Powered by nature, raw passion, all action. When it takes, racing on water, racing with impact. Give it all, everything, give it all, everything. We are racing. When it takes, we are SailGP.
For centuries, voyagers have passed through New York Harbor in hopes of a brighter future. Today, SailGP makes its return to these iconic waters as the best sailors in the world battle it out on the Hudson River at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. Welcome to the Empire State and the Big Apple. Not since Season 1 has the league raced on these waters, but today enormous crowds are expected for the first weekend of summer. And with the titans of sailing congregating off the shores of Manhattan, fireworks are expected at the penultimate event of the season. The race will be on to secure maximum points as the season finale looms on the western horizon in less than a month's time in San Francisco. With former world champion Emily Nagel and Olympian Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. Before we go racing, let's bring you up to speed on the action thus far in Season 4 of SailGP.
It's been a wild season. And with $2 million on the line, the pressure is building. New Zealand's Blackfalls are sitting pretty at the top. Mathematically, they've already made the grand final, but they'll be wanting to avoid anything that could cost them a chance at the prize money.
I think for us it's really about going to the grand final comfortable with momentum, so we're not going to be backing off at all. We're going to be pushing it 100% and really looking forward to trying to get another win on the board this weekend.
Spain have the best story this season. They've answered their critics and are capable of causing a huge upset.
Give it up for the Spanish. They will claim the victory here in Bermuda.
The points are so close that if you relax a bit or you take it a bit more conservative, you can easily end up really far back in the fleet. And for us, is as always, try to do the best event we can. We'll see what happens.
For the first time in SailGP history, Australia will be defending their third place overall to keep their spot in the grand final.
This season we've had a lot of highs and lows. I'm not really focused on our competitors. I have full faith that we'll be in the final in San Francisco.
Behind them, both France and Denmark will be looking to push Australia out of position, and they'll be feeling confident after making the final in Halifax.
It's a bit early to start racing. Teams ahead of us, Spain, Australia. We just got to make sure we will beat all of them, and then I think San Fran's going to where it's going to come down to the match racing.
Every race is with no margin, so just to be really focused, keep it the whole team in peace, and just try to sail as free as we can.
After 11 events in Season 4, it's the Blackfalls of New Zealand that have a commanding double-digit lead in the overall standings. Spain has moved into second place, just 1 point ahead of the three-time defending champions Australia. Then it gets very sporty with France and Denmark still in the fight to make the top three. Emirates GBR has 3 wins on the season and just won the last event in Canada, but they and the Canadians will need top-of-the-table performances and some help if they have any chance of making the grand final in San Francisco. That is the mission. Make the top 3 and give your team a chance at the big payday. At the end of the season, the winning team will lift the SailGP Season 4 Championship trophy for $2 million. But how does it all work? Our scoring system awards points for each race that teams compete in across a race event.
top 3 teams with the most points will face off at the event final. One final race in order to determine who takes the event title and battle it out for maximum points towards the season standings. 10 to the winner, 9 for second, and 8 for third. 4th to 10th place are awarded season points based on their position from only the fleet races. These points are crucial for the season-long championship leaderboard. The championship leaderboard is recalculated after each event, and the 3 highest-ranked teams at the end of the season qualify for the winner-take-all grand final.
3 full fleet races are scheduled for today, with each race winner receiving 10 points. Last place is awarded 1 point. Then on Sunday, we will see 2 more fleet races before the field is cut to just the top 3 teams on points. And that trio will have the chance to race in the winner-take-all event final. Right now, Stevie Morrison takes us through today's course map.
Our racetrack's on the Hudson River. Be behind the line at 0 and then sprint straight to Mark 1. From here, the path opens up. There's no one route for the teams to follow. At each gate, the crews can turn left or right. Those white lines were the wind, these blue lines are the current moving down the course. For the F50s to sail fast, they need to sail at an angle to the wind to generate speeds. So there's opportunity aplenty to overtake the boats. The current is a big tactical factor here for the crews to think about on the racetrack. It's a short course, the start's going to be crucial, and to finish first under the Manhattan skyline is going to be a full pressure affair.
All right, thank you, Stevie. There are all 10 international teams out on the water, ready to battle it out in the New York Harbor and a short distance from the bright lights of Broadway. Before we get to Act 1, let's check in down on the water with Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
It's great to be back racing in New York. The wind is looking pretty light at the moment. It's blowing from the south around 20 to 28 kilometers per hour. There is a lot of cloud around though, so the wind is super up and down in strength, and I think we'll see a little bit of a pattern emerge here out on the racetrack, but there should be plenty of opportunity for overtakes. Configuration-wise, the light airfoils are in to help the F50 stay high above the water, and the 24-meter all-purpose wing to harness that power. I have just heard, however, we are under a 5-minute delay due to France having some technical issues, so they've got the tech team by their side at the moment trying to fix that, and hopefully we'll get underway quite shortly, Todd.
All right, so a delayed start because France having some technical issues. There you see in the center of your screen the French flag, and they will try to work those out. So that puts us 6 minutes and some change away from the start of race number 1 of 3 today. That gives us an opportunity to get some other breaking news in here, and that news, Stevie Morrison, involves Germany making contact yesterday with Australia in practice. Now, nothing serious, but the league obviously does not want these boats coming together at high speed. The damage is too expensive. Let's go back and have a look at it one more time, but this is going to cost Germany 4 points before they even set sail.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a sort of stand-fast rule over the season. Contact has consequence, and there was a mistake made at bottom gate yesterday. Very aggressive. We're going to have a little look back at it now. It was a tight rounding between Australia and Germany. It all went pretty fair, but yeah, the contact happened. Right. It was a mistake by Eric Kyle. He's kind of put his hands up and said sorry for it, having watched back at the video, you know. But yeah, here we go. There you go. So we got Australia must give room to Germany. They did that. And then as they leave the mark here, Germany now have to watch out for Australia, and the Germans got a little high on the foils there. And yeah, we had contact, so here we go. But on board Australia, you see Slingsby looking back there. He's got his head round, checking where the Germans are. Now suddenly it's Germany who've got to keep clear, but you see him get a bit high. And it took Tom by surprise, to say the very least. And, you know, there was damage. It wasn't major, but, you know, you can see how close it gets to people, and we don't want that.
1 minute grit, Jimmy.
So all good here at the rounding, Stevie. It's right here.
Yeah, they just start to get a little high, and Eric starts to press the boat. He wants to accelerate. He wants to press down onto that foil, so he turns to his right, but unfortunately Australia were in the way. So, yeah, bad start for Germany. Mistakes happen, but, you know, it was fortunately nothing too serious.
So in the shadows of Lady Liberty, we are getting set for the first race of 3. And from driver to strategist, every crew member has a role to play on board. Each role works in tandem, so together they make a team that delivers the most exciting racing out on the water here for SailGP.
Hello,
Maneuvering the F50 is extremely difficult. It's a massive coordination effort. If one person is not proactive, then their job and everyone else's gets much harder. The driver is the leader and makes the final call in the balance of the road in the pursuit of maximum speed. The balance is delicate, and the driver does this because they can sense and feel the most through the wheel. The wing trimmer harnesses the power of the wind with the F50 wing sail in the most efficient way possible. It's like a door. You close it for more power and open it for less. Create too much power and you capsize. Create too little power and you fall off the foils.
My rig.
The flight controller's goal is to find the optimum height to make the boat perform, constantly making changes to keep the boat flying. Get caught out of sync and it's like sailing an uncontrollable roller coaster. There are two grinders. Their job is to provide the power that turns the winch for the wing trimmer, as well as provide tactical support. While the grinders need to be strong and fit, providing that tactical information while your heart rate maxed out is no easy task. The driver doesn't have a lot of time to look around, so they make decisions based on the information they're getting from their strategist. The strategist paints a picture of the whole race course for the driver to see. The skill of a strategist is to know when to say what, and those big decisions could be the difference between winning and losing. Ultimately, the better each person becomes in their position, the stronger, calmer, and more intuitive the team becomes, meaning they can focus less on making the boat go fast and more on racing and winning.
Awesome. Nice work.
So we're currently hoping for the wind to fill in as the fans continue to make their way to Governor's Island. Great viewing all around the southern tip of Manhattan. We're 2 minutes away from the first of 3 races today. Emily Nagel is a former world champion. You were here in season 1 when we came and raced here. These conditions, would you say they are tricky in these waters in the New York Harbor?
It's definitely tricky conditions out there. It's very different from when we were here in season 1. Wind direction's complete opposite. But what's really interesting out there today is we've had some thunderstorms before when the first boats launched, which meant they practiced in some big breeze. It's now dropped, so it's a lot shiftier out there, and we've also got tide playing into the situation as well.
So, Stevie, you've got two rivers coming together, the East and the Hudson. It empties out there, and there you see as we are under 90 seconds to go, so they'll try to figure that out. It looks like France has got their technical issues sorted out, so they'll get themselves into the start box, and then it is full-on 10 international teams, the best sailors in the world, in the shadows of Manhattan.
Yes, quite a view, isn't it? I think, you know, there's a lot of interesting features, and always the first race of the event, the crews are learning the racetrack. So there'll be a lot of things to learn. Those blue arrows on our screen, that's the current, shows it running down from bottom of the screen to top. However, I'm not entirely sure if that's actually what's happening out there at the moment. The crews have been sort of saying it's not quite as predicted.
So 50 seconds to go. Everyone must get into position. There you see the start line on the right-hand side, and then they cannot cross that until the clock hits 0. So we'll see who times it right. Everyone getting in their position right now. Canada first to get themselves set up, heading back towards the start line.
Well, here we go. Now we see at the top of the screen, Spain, bottom left-hand corner of the screen, sorry, is Spain, USA tacking in late, but they're going to control that bottom end of the start line, which has been strong. New Zealand up and foiling with 25 seconds to go. They're at the back of the pack at the moment, but that doesn't mean anything for now. In the middle of the line, Switzerland are well positioned, Great Britain are well positioned, and France needs to hold back on some timing here. I like where the Kiwis are, but is there going to be a gap? I don't see a gap for New Zealand. Here we go, timing crucial. Watch for the line to turn red. It's going to be France at the top of the line, United States at the bottom. Who's called it right?
Coming down. I think you roll Swiss first, I'll come down. A good pressure coming.
Great start by Rotwell, Denmark. Can they get round Switzerland? They're going to have a fast angle in towards Mark 1, and the Danes, can they roll over Emirates Great Britain?
So the race is on here at the first race of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. It is Nikolaj Sejested and Rockwell, Denmark. On their left-hand side, though, you've got Giles Scott and Emirates GBR as they make the turn here at Mark 1 and we in New York.
Oh, Lady Liberty's got a look at the Brits on the inside there, and Emirates Great Britain controlled the inside. Great boat speed from the British there. They turn away at Mark 1 first. They will control things. I expect the wind to start getting light ahead of them. Early manoeuvre after Mark 1 should be a strong move. Here go the Australians.
Alright, just keep it going here.
Oh, United States, they missed the jibe. Big mistake by United States. They're off the foils. That's going to be so costly.
Better turn up when we can, guys. Yeah. Get the board up if it's not. Yeah.
A great start there, Todd, but they just tried to force it through the jibe, forcing it hard.
And look at the speed difference here on Australia, 56 kilometres an hour compared to 40 on the Danish. Aussies are just rolling over the fleet now.
Not quite the speeds we saw, Emily, in practice yesterday, but that wind has died down. Hopefully it fills in over the next 2 races.
Coming in here. Stand by. Coming into gate 2, Todd, and this will be an interesting decision. Do they turn back to Governor's Island, or is it left turn and hope to find more wind to the bottom of our screen?
Straight. Yep.
From what we saw in that practice lap before they started racing, we saw more wind away from Governor's Island, but the boundary is a lot closer on that side.
Gate 2, Australia on the inside. They've got the right of way here over Denmark. Denmark need to keep clear at the bottom of the course. Oh, if he can sail him off here, Denmark, if he can stay out of that yellow circle, it's going to be so tight. Almost match racing manoeuvre here. Australia should have rights to turn on the inside. Will Rottwell split?
You go on the other one? Yeah, other one, copy.
Communication tricky on board there. Tom Johnson not totally sure of Nikolai's plans, but it's just done enough. There's less wind down at the bottom of the course here, Todd.
So as they make the turn at gate number 2, it is Emirates GBR, the winners of the last race in Halifax. Australia sits in second, Switzerland's moved into third, and then it's Denmark, France, and New Zealand. Tough sledding so far for Spain, Germany, and the USA.
I think that's what showed us. It could be the story of the day. If you get tangled up around other boats, you just lose a lot of distance very quickly. Australia and Denmark were really only a few metres behind Great Britain. They fell off the foils fighting each other, and Emirates Great Britain have shot away. But look at the wind, bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Denmark is looking in a good position right now.
And meanwhile, France can't seem to get moving at all here. Still 2 hulls in the water.
This is the first race of 3. They're on leg 3 of 7. It'll be a quick turnaround, but right now, Emirates GBR, Giles Scott have this thing figured out. And Nathan Outers, the wind whisperer, and the Swiss are in second.
Wind across the course at the moment here. GBR in 26k an hour pressure. Danish slightly less at the bottom of the screen.
I think we're good this
Lisa,
way,
we've seen some big clouds out there and some big splits in the fleet. Have you got any idea of which side of the course looks good from the water?
Well, I think where Denmark went, they had more pressure, so they did that left turn. But then as we move up the course, so where GBR is getting now, they're at the top of Governor's Island. That's where I'm sitting. There's a really nice breeze sort of funneling down the shoreline. So it is really shifty out here and really gusty. I think what we'll see is we'll probably see a left turn at this next gate and then early jibe to get away from that lee of Governor's Island. But it's going to be pretty hard out here for the sailors. It looks like those foiling manoeuvres are really tough. And as you said, you just don't want to get in the way of somebody else and mess up your race.
Giles Scott makes the move across, takes the wheel away from Hannah Mills, the strategist. Luke Parkinson's the last man to come across, and now they're up and sailing again, trying to get up on the foils. Maximum speed here as they approach the next gate. It'll be gate number 3, Emirates GBR with the lead. Denmark has moved into second place now, with the Australians holding on to third.
Well, how much does confidence do for you? They couldn't buy a win a few weeks ago, and now they can't avoid it. But Emirates Great Britain just sailing the boat smoothly, and they've got out ahead. You can just see France and the United States, they made a mistake on that first downwind leg, and look, hammered back to 9th and 10th.
Working away.
Slow and steady, calm maneuvers and calm communication on board Emirates GBR. As we said, they won the last event with Giles Scott, the new man at the helm, taking over for Sir Ben Ainsley, who stepped aside into a management role, putting his focus on the America's Cup coming up this fall. A great battle going on here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th with Denmark, Australia, and Canada.
Then we just saw that little graphic there, Todd, of the disturbed wind coming off the boat in front. It was coming off Rottwell, Denmark, and it was going on to Canada and United and Australia. And that's the fact. As soon as you're back in the pack, there is a lot of disturbed wind. Your first choice is maybe not the best choice anymore. You've got to make decisions based on that. So the art of it is how can you pull back through the fleet? And New Zealand have been that boat normally.
Keep an eye on the Kiwis. They are the current overall leaders in the series after 11 events, and they have always seemed to find a way to get themselves through the fleet. They were back in 8th place, now they moved up to 7th, make it 6th.
Well, they got stuck on the Spanish a little bit then, as we see Great Britain are firing away out in front. Rottwell, Denmark, how much do Rottwell, Denmark need a win here in New York to give themselves a chance of that top 3?
Dane's currently sitting in 5th place overall, 7 points out of the 3rd and final position in the grand final. And of course, they are behind France as well, who sit in 4th.
Left gate by 100 now.
Copy.
Okay, that's interesting from Hannah there. She's saying if you turn left at the bottom here, that's 100 metres less distance that you'll sail. However, does that put you in more wind? Does that put you in better current?
Okay, cancelling.
Nations between
One.
Scott.
Yeah, nice, boys. Okay, turning up in 2.
That's 1 and in right.
1, working up.
Better keep clean with these little personal battles when we can.
Okay.
Keep clean at Rockwell and try to attack up the upwind.
Copy.
Self-coaching, I mean, that's perfect. It's exactly what you said. If you get tangled up with other boats and you compromise your own performance, you're going to be slow. So expect Slingsby to go straight and turn right at the bottom here with Rockwell Denmark turning left. That gives him the opportunity to sail his own path, his own breeze. So he's sailing a little bit more distance, but he's going to have space. He should be able to go faster from it.
So through gate number 4, it is still Emirates GBR out in front. Nikolai Sehested and Rockwell Denmark have moved into 2nd place with Tom Slingsby, the Australians, in 3rd. And here comes Phil Robertson, the Canadians, top 4 with Nathan Andrich in 5th.
Listen here, big wine, boys.
Pretty big gaps opening up here, Todd. Quite surprising to see that, really. I think it's just, you know, as soon as the boats find that rhythm, if they do fall off the foils, they do slow up, as can happen in the pack. The gaps open up really quickly. But New Zealand, when they're back to 6th, still struggling to get a good start at the moment, the Kiwi crew.
I think it helps Australia here as well that it's a much more open course. They do tend to do better when they've got more space to stretch their legs and hopefully close the gap with that British and Danish team. But it does make it then trickier for the Kiwis. You know, they are sailing up the course, they do sail less distance, but they've just got a bit more room that it doesn't make it quite as easy.
Steve, you know, I want to go back to that strategist role. We heard from Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, who's the strategist for Emirates GBR. She is calling things out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Giles Scott will always do what she is calling out.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's about getting information onto the boat. You can't make good decisions without good information, but at the end of the day, not everyone will see things exactly the same all the time, and you have one final decision maker on the boat. I mean, they'll have decided that. I imagine it's Giles.
We've got to be a little wary of that bottom left corner now with the tide change.
Oh, that's interesting. So that bottom left, so the side in near Governor's Island, they're saying the tide will start changing in there first. So rather than going from left to right, it's going to start going right to left. So the treadmill starts to work against you. You don't want to be in that side and running. You don't want to run against the treadmill if you can help it, Tom.
Yeah, I think if we can get it, it's good, but...
Tide's with us at the minute.
But yeah, back to your point. There you go. Giles and Hannah, constant communication, but at the end of the day, like anything in life, you need to have one decision maker at the end of it, and that will be decided before the event. Hannah will be given information, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with Giles.
Medium broad.
No problem jibing on the mark, Rob?
No issue boats at the moment.
Rob isn't on the boat. Rob's in the coach booth, so that's their coach, Robbie Wilson, and he's talking to them about the big picture strategy, and I think that's a real unique feature of Season 4, coming on. The coaches on the shore are communicating live, and they're effectively a 7th sailor on the boat, so there's an awful lot of information coming in, probably less so from the 2 grinders at the front, because they're working pretty hard and they'll be blowing pretty hard, but yeah, it's big communication.
Yeah.
Nikolai Sehested, the driver for Rockwell Denmark.
And then we'll go to M1. Really nice pressure coming down. Happy to sound a little higher if you want.
We've had some interesting tactics here by the Danish. They've worked on covering the Australians, so almost mimicking where the Australians turning to make sure that they don't get that advantage by splitting away from the Danish.
Stand by.
How big a moment for Rockwell Denmark, though. I mean, ultimately, you think about this in the pressure of the season. Australia, they're not in that final. They're not home and dry. There's a lot of pressure on Slingsby here. 3rd place, he'll be pretty happy with that, but he's not going to like seeing Rockwell Denmark ahead of him. Although Rockwell Denmark have just done a poor jibe in the middle of our screen. They've fallen off the foils. They might still be okay if they can pop it straight back up.
The US.
Race number 1 will go the way of Emirates GBR as they approach the finish line. The USA in 10th place. They should not factor in this at all. And we will take a bow and hand the first win to Giles Scott and Emirates GBR as they get the win in New York City.
Tight moment there. The United States, of course, have still got to go upwind a little bit and get away there, so it might have been slightly confusing for people watching. Clear win for Emirates Great Britain, and yeah, Hannah pretty happy with the first one. About winning the last one that counts, though, Todd.
Emirates GBR fighting against the lap traffic as they come through the finish line. The USA still has to go down to the gates at the bottom, top of your screen, and then come back up as they sit in 10th. And we got a nice little battle here. Canada and Australia getting together.
Canada had the right of way, but as soon as they leave that mark, Canada have got to keep clear of Australia now. Expect Australia to push. He looks like he's clear ahead. Slingsby just enough, but Phil Robertson, he loves a bit of action on those final turning marks.
The Aussies came round that though with 20 km/h more speed, just accelerating through that turn.
So it's Denmark that holds on for second place here in race number 1, and Tom Slingsby, the defending champion in the series, he will take third with Canada grabbing fourth. Remember, it's 10 points for the win, 9 for second, 8 for third, all the way down to 1 point for last place. Unfortunately, that is where the USA is sitting right now as France holds on to 9th. The Kiwis have salvaged something else like they always do, Stevie. They will hold on and take 5th.
They do seem very good at the comebacks, but I think they'd still be pulling their hair out on the shore to actually try and get a decent start in there. They're just struggling to quite hit the timing. Again, they're pretty well set to make it to the final on board that New Zealand boat, but Pete Burling talked a lot before the event about momentum, and I feel like maybe the momentum's not fully with them at the moment. They're very fast, they sail through the fleet well, but they've got work to do.
Nathan Outteridge brings his boat in as they cross the line in 6th place after a great start. Remember, they were in the top 3 all the way up to 2nd place after one leg, but they dropped back. Top 6, though, not terrible for them. Diego Botín, winner in Bermuda 2 events ago. Disappointing day for them as they will finish in 7th place, with the Germans coming in 8th.
Coming down.
And then the battle is on for 9th and 10th. There you see at the top of your screen in the distance. It is France and the USA in a little bit of a match race for the last 2 positions.
It's disastrous for France, that is, Todd. They can't afford this if they want to get to this grand final. Big, big problem.
So it's Emirates GBR that comes to New York City and gets the win in race number 1.
Talk about the ley line, please. There. 3, 2, 1.
Well, what a race for Emirates GBR, fresh off that victory in Halifax, Canada, and they come back in race number 1 and get the win. Not necessarily the very best start, but they were in the mix, Stevie, and everyone else has said, stay out in front and stay away from everyone else, and that's exactly what Giles Scott did. He, Hannah Mills, and the rest of the crew kept it simple.
Well, they were on the inside, weren't they? I thought Denmark were probably the fastest and the closest to the line, but they had the inside position, short leg to Mark 1, dominated from there.
So the France will beat the home team for 9th place, and the USA will finish dead last in 10th. All right, lot to unpack here on race number 1, day number 1 at the Mubadala, New York Sail Grand Prix here on the New York Harbor.
And exactly as Stevie suspected, the Danish did hit that line with the highest boat speed at 58 km/h and only 300 milliseconds behind the line. GBR were the second best at 45 km/h, but ultimately they were closer to that optimum point on the line, had a better angle to Mark 1 and led the fleet around the rest of the course.
Well, yeah, and you just see how it's so important to lead at Mark 1. It's so important to be accurate with your manoeuvres here on board United States. They missed the first jibe, they fell off the foils, and if you fall off the foils, you just slow right down. Massive error there, hugely costly. And from then on, it was really about trying to optimise your performance, keep yourself in space, minimise the manoeuvres, and the British did that well from the lead. But Rottwell, Denmark and Australia, maybe a little bit of a sneak battle to make that grand final in San Francisco. They need a mistake. There were no mistakes from Emirates Great Britain, but it's just tight. If you do make any errors out there, you get punished pretty hard, and it's tight to the end of the race. Got to remember that all the time through these races, every point really counts. Canada dived inside Australia, but Slingsby made it stick. Got the result.
At the numbers, we can see the secret behind Emirates GBR's success, ultimately sailing less distance and doing less maneuvers than all of the other teams. But what I find really interesting is you look at the Kiwis, they actually had the best average speed around the course and still did less maneuvers. but because they had a poor start, they weren't able to sail all the way through the fleet. So really focusing on getting that start perfect is the key to success here.
Let's go down on the water. Lisa Darmanin is with the winners of race
Giles,
number 1.
Giles, sports about momentum, and you're keeping the momentum from Canada.
Yeah, I suppose we are at the moment. Yeah, we've had a good start there. I mean, very, very tricky conditions here. Breezes up and down and lots of current to mess with us as well. But yeah, we'll take that for race 1 for sure.
Is there a key to the racetrack? Just what's the key to getting around this tricky racetrack?
Well, I think that one, it was solid foiling if you're out in front, but in the pack it looked very, very tricky. So as ever, starts are a massive thing, and we just managed to get our nose out in front, nail the first couple jibes, and that was it. We were away, and it was pretty nice sailing from there. But yeah, I'm sure it'll get tricky.
Thanks, Charles.
All right, thank you, Lisa. 2 more races today, and the action so far has certainly lived up to the billing. The entire weekend kicked off with a spicy press conference exchange between longtime friends and allies, Canada and the USA, plus additional fireworks that set the sailing world on fire with the announcement of a new team joining the league for Season 5.
We do have some incredible news.
We're delighted to announce the formation of SailGP's first ever South American team.
Thanks Mubadala and Mubadala Capital to give the opportunity to project Brazil name around the globe.
To have Brazil on the start line is very special and cool to expand to South America, so welcome.
So Tom, the incredible capsize in Halifax, what went wrong?
Essentially what we had was a technical issue and a button failure. We were leading that race and we had a good chance of making the final, and that didn't happen, and yeah, we've just got to roll with the punches, and yeah, the boat's been fixed and we're ready to roll here.
Giles, a lot of people have been saying the performance in Halifax seemed to come from nowhere.
I'm not sure it came from nowhere, but yes, certainly nice to get out in front of this fleet for the first time since I joined the league, certainly.
As we head into New York, points and positions are closer than ever. The battle for third is playing out between Australia, Spain, France, and Denmark. Sitting in third, Tom Slingsby of Australia. How uncomfortable are you in such unfamiliar territory?
I know how this team performs under pressure, and we've just got to rise to that pressure again. We have in the past, and we will again here.
Speaking of rivalries, the US versus Canada was on full display in the latest episode of Racing on the Edge. Phil, I know you've seen it. What do you make of Taylor's comments that you are arrogant?
I guess he doesn't know me very well. You know, the US team has been struggling a lot, and as an investor of that team, I would be asking some serious questions. The sport's tough, there's no secret. It's a tough league, it's competitive, but at some point, you've got to walk the walk and not just talk the talk.
And we've got 2 more races still to go. Beautiful day here in Manhattan. We'll have much more, including races 2 and 3, when we return to Governor's Island in the Hudson River. This is the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together.
Yeah, it's been 5 years since we were in New York, so yeah, some great memories from the first season when we came to New York, and to get the event win with the Japanese team.
Japan are just about to win here in New York City.
It was pretty special, and we had quite windy conditions, and it was blowing from the northwest coming off the Jersey City. So as we know in New York, plenty of buildings that chop up the wind, so it makes it super dynamic. And because the racecourse area was also very small, meant we were doing quite a few laps, and the race kind of kept changing and evolving, and it was one of those races where you're battling the other boat, but you're also battling the elements.
We've had 3 lead changes in 1 leg already. It's insane.
New York is a tough venue. It's not known for being a popular sailing destination, but these boats can fit in a nice little racetrack here, and if you get nice weather, it can be great.
Oh, very, very close. Who's going to get the zone first? France are nearly going to go over. They need to save that. Very close moment there.
To think that we came here in season 1 and here we are in season 4, 5 years later, it's amazing. Like back then we had, I think, 5 events in the season, and now we've got more events scheduled for next season. So yeah, the league is growing for sure.
And we are off and racing.
Season 1 we had 6 boats, now we've got 10 boats. The level is getting higher. Every team is getting better and better. More boats, more action, and a much tougher competition.
SailGP in New York, I think it's a very challenging course, but should be a fun one.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together.
Day 1 of Event 12 here at the Mubadala, New York Sail Grand Prix. Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin, as we are under 5 minutes away from race number 2, scheduled for 3 races on today.
Here on the Hudson River, there is a really interesting tidal flow that creates a crazy tactical scenario with max current on the left side of the channel and less on the right. Our tactical software suggests a right-hand turn at the bottom gate will set you up to make the most of the current, while going left-hand would be 4 seconds slower. But what we should really be looking out for today are these tide lines that we get appearing. They show less current and more current on either side based on how dark the water is. So sailors will be looking out for those colour changes to help figure out the fastest way around the course.
Longtime allies, America and Canada, have a great tradition of friendship and mutual respect. However, in SailGP Season 4, that traditionally stable relationship has been put to the test, as both those teams' drivers have fired verbal salvos that seem to be the beginning of a new Cold War out on the water. Following the United States SailGP's capsize in Bermuda, Canada's social media team were quick to poke fun at their misfortune.
Engine start, no problem. Tidin, problem, engine kaput.
It's funny. I mean, you're laughing, I'm laughing, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think they crossed the line. Yeah, it's not going to be something that we're gonna take lightly, and we're not going to forget.
Well, where's the other one? Back to the drawing board for Bermuda.
Yeah, our social media team is very aggressive, and to be honest, I have absolutely nothing to do with it at all. But look, if they don't like our social media posts, they can come and talk to us, and we'll try and explain it to them.
Bill Robertson and Taylor Canfield have history. Will we see this rivalry play out on the racetrack this weekend?
I'd say Phil's probably more on the arrogant side, to be honest. He's always seems to be talking down to people like he's almost, above and better than them. And
I think the first time I raced against Taylor was in 2009. And at that moment, he was an arrogant little college kid. And the only thing that's changed since is he's no longer at college.
I think, when Phil's good enough to race for his own country, then he can start running his mouth.
This is Race Committee. The course for Race 2 is 5MS. The axis is now 180. Length is 0.72 nautical miles. Good luck.
So there's the word from race management, as we are less than 1:45 now away from race number 2. Race number 1 again won by Emirates GBR. Great Britain gets that victory, followed by Denmark and Australia. A lot of work to do, Stevie, for the Americans, as they've got to rally quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you don't want to sort of beat a team while it's down, but unfortunately that's now 4th, 10th place in a row if you go back to day one in Halifax, and that's not a record they weren't going to want to keep. You know, they had a great start in that race, focus on the positives, good start, got to Mark 1 well, small error, but small errors are massive at this level.
So they'll get themselves into position, and then the dance will begin. Remember, they need to hit that line when it goes white at 0. And there you see Manhattan in the distance. Beautiful day of racing here, just off of Governor's Island. Lady Liberty. They make their way now in less than a minute to go. Points at a premium here. Remember, 10 points to the winner, so Great Britain already has 10 points. Denmark has 9, Australia has 8, and the Americans have 1. Only the top 3 teams will race in the event final. That comes after 5 fleet races.
New Zealand have changed things up here, Todd. Look, they've turned back a bit early. They've not put themselves out the back, given a little bit more chance to find a way through here. United States late in. France, they're the boat, left-hand side of screen, that are going to try and wind it up from a long way out. That didn't work too well last time, but if they've got their timing right, it could be a lot better. New Zealand, slow at the moment, but well positioned. United States turn in late. Australia up and foiling, 23 seconds to go. Australia and Switzerland are well positioned at the moment, but it's who's got the gap. There you go. That's our pole predictor gold star on Australia at the moment, but can they execute from here? New Zealand are foiling at the bottom of the line, Australia at the top of the line, and Switzerland hoping for a gap. How's your timing in the middle of the line here? Phil Robertson, he turns the boat down on board Canada, but it's a little too late, and it's going to be Switzerland with the perfect start through the middle. They should lead the fleet to Mark 1, and the Roos are going to come flying in from the top.
Enough to clear the gas. We're here when we can.
So it's Nathan Outteridge and Switzerland that has the lead. Will they get the whole shot? France is off to their right, pushing Canada also. And here comes Australia and Germany. Those 5 boats way out in front.
Big change here into Mark 1. Great news for the Swiss. They should be well positioned. Going to go straight, but they need to manoeuvre quite soon after Mark 1, as they've been talking about less wind. New Zealand, they're in the middle of the pack, but it's not a great start for them again this time.
9. And angle. Being patient, go straight.
It's the voice of Will Ryan there talking to Nathan Outteridge, and he's trying to get them to turn up. That's because it got very light in their manoeuvre, and they've fallen off the foils nearly. I think they're back and foiling. They should be safe on board Switzerland.
All good.
France, meanwall, completely off the foils
Yeah,
up
all
there.
good here, okay?
Kiwis as well, and the Canadians.
Here, Nathan, then. We're all good. Almost sounded like he was trying to reassure himself then, but that is going to turn into a massive lead for Switzerland. It's got so light under the fans on the shore in Governor's Island.
And look at this, almost all the teams now off the foils. The wind has dropped out, so let's go down in the water. Lisa Darman, what are you seeing as far as the conditions, and what are we getting in the next 10, 15 minutes?
Well, I can tell you the French, they're up and foiling. The New Zealanders, they're going to get into the next pressure next. So the best breeze is over towards Lady Liberty. So everyone that is able to get away from Governor's Island for the time being, they should be able to pop on the foils. But it's about patience out here. Look, it is really up and down. It is tricky. I think also when they do that manoeuvre and they've got to go back the way that they came, they're sailing massive angles out here, and it's pretty painful. But yeah, Switzerland are looking pretty nice with their old flight controller back on the boat, Francois Morvan.
Talking about flight controller, what a shot from the T-Mobile 5G POV camera there under the bow of the Switzerland boat. We saw the foils, we saw how high they were flying, and they did an absolutely brilliant job of that manoeuvre. Look at that, nearly 200-metre lead back in the pack. Well, it's hard when you're at the back, and at the moment Rottwell, Denmark are filling that place, really struggling for breeze. What's the Swiss going to do? I imagine a left turn, all the winds towards the bottom of our screen. If you turn right and head in towards the fans on Governor's Island, it's not a lot.
Which mark has wind, do you think? I almost feel like we've got to come back where we came from.
So Nathan Outteridge talking to his strategist. They're looking for pressure out on the water. As Lisa mentioned, conditions very tricky right now. Maybe best to do exactly opposite, Stevie, what he just came from.
I think he'll look to turn back straight away here. Here we go. Yeah, they're going to turn right. It's a little bit what Emily said. That right turn at the bottom's favoured for saving yourself manoeuvres, but you don't want to head too much towards the top of our screen and towards the landmass of that island. Any landmass tends to block the breeze. No skyscrapers, but even in this light winds, even a low landmass like Governor's Island will be affecting things. And New Zealand, there we go. Hocus pocus. He's out of the fire there. Burling's got him back up to third from a poor start.
So Switzerland out in front, France in second, New Zealand all the way up to third, then it's Canada, Spain, and the USA.
And it's a shocker here for the French team, who were doing so well. They've come off the foils in that final manoeuvre and look like sitting ducks.
How does that happen, Stevie? I mean, have they just sailed into a pocket of no breeze?
Well, it's a little bit, every time you manoeuvre, you lose speed, and ultimately, when we see the boats foiling, the speed they've got generates its own wind. It's a speed-generated wind. We call it apparent wind in sailing. It's like when you're driving along in a car, there can be no wind, but if you stick your hand out the window, there's a lot of wind. So the fact that the boats are moving, they're generating their own wind. If you make any mistake, slow down, suddenly there's a lot less wind. And there's what the fact of things, they've fallen off the foils, they've got no speed, they've got no apparent wind, it's hard to get back on the foils.
And on days like these, if you come off the foils, it's not just 50 metres, it's a couple hundred, as we've seen here.
Diego Botín of Spanish have moved up to 5th place.
You can just see, look at the screen here, Todd. There's not a lot of wind at the bottom. As you look towards the top right-hand corner of our screen, you can see some dark patches on the water moving down. That's a sign that there will be more wind coming down. But I just think in general, as you move up the course, there's more wind on average. So this bottom of the course, there's a lot of opportunity to overtake, but there's an awful lot of opportunity to have a bit of a disaster and get yourself stuck.
That's good news for the Swiss, who they have come off the foils in the middle of the course there, but moving into that darker pressure now, hopefully extending their lead.
Todd, we've not had to talk about time limits for quite a while now, and I'm a bit worried we might have to if this breeze doesn't come back to pop the leading boats up onto the foils. Australia stuck in the middle of the pack, but Sejersted, he's out the back. And that's not good news for the Danes. It's, of course, this big battle for the top 3 grand final places. And for France, for Spain, for Australia, and for Denmark, it's crucial they come out of this first day here in New York with some good scores.
What else is shocking is the team that won the first race, Emirates GBR, currently are mired in 10th place behind the Germans and the Danes.
Go left, breeze is better this way.
Talking about doing a left turn at the bottom. I guess if you're last, probably time to roll the dice.
It's good news at the moment for the Swiss and Kiwi teams, who are starting to see 20k an hour of wind pressure at the top of their rig.
Look at that, Outridge. He's got the Swiss boat. He's going parallel nearly to that yellow line. What does that yellow line on our screen mean? It's called the ley line. That means you can get to that next gate with no more manoeuvres. So for Swiss fans, it'll be good. Here we go, the Wind Whisperer. Let's have a listen to him.
I am getting a little lift here. I know the left mark is favoured, so we would only take left if you think we can nail the jibe out of there. Go up a bit.
Talking about the plan. So this is Nathan said it's going to be less distance to sail to a left turn. Well, I don't mind about distance at the moment. All I care about is staying in wind. So I'm going to do an extra manoeuvre. I'm going to sail extra distance, but I'm going to do it an awful lot faster. So look at that. He can nearly turn left in a one, Todd, but he's choosing to sail more distance to get in more wind.
Wheel coming away in 2. 1, wing down, all the way down.
That was a really nice shot there as well, showing just how long they keep those foils down in the water when it's light like this. Having 2 foils in the water means double the lift, so trying to force the boats to stay foiling for as long as possible until they've built enough speed to stay stable.
And look at the rest of the fleet are still down at the other gate as Nathan Outridge is looking at possibly lapping some of the teams out here, and it is still Switzerland out in front, New Zealand second, Canada in third, and then France. Remember, the race time is 16 minutes, and we still have a good 7 to 8 minutes to go in this race. So Outridge making great progress here on this leg, but the rest of the fleet is really struggling.
Just hard if you get off the foils, and we're going to be interested to see what does the Kiwis do here. Do they?
This other way, but you're cool. Right, lift early job.
Okay, so there you go. Pete Burling, happy to roll the dice a little bit. Blair saying safer go the other way, turn right. Burling says let's turn left, but let's get out of there quick.
Yeah, straight away.
What a view for the fans there, Todd. Look how many people have turned up. We saw some fans under Lady Liberty, plenty of fans there in our adrenaline zone, getting the full adrenaline hit now with the Kiwis coming close by.
So Blair 2 crosses over first. And here comes Pete Burling. He'll take the wheel. Boy, they are really high. Look at that.
Andy Maloney not shy to push
Which
it.
way do we go here?
As Liv Mackay runs into the middle, they're looking out. The trouble when the boats... Oh my, have a look at this. Looks like a great call for the Kiwis at the moment. That could be a deceiving camera angle, but right now,
gonna pass
it looks to me like the Burling Took team has found the breeze, and the Wind Whisperer, he's lost the lead here. He's having to sail nearly parallel to that course there at the moment. He's making no progress down the course. He's off the foils. Kiwis are on the foils, sailing towards more wind. Looks good for them.
And breaking news, this race will be suspended or ending at the next gate. So this is the last leg. And look at this. Once again, Peter Burling picking the perfect time to make that maneuver as he pulls into the lead ahead of Switzerland.
Tell you what, Todd, there's a lot of pressure on this maneuver. That almost looks a bit rushed. They're off the foils. We just saw in the background that the Swiss were on the foils here. Crucial moments here. Can Switzerland nail the next maneuver?
And not only are Switzerland up on the foils, Canadians are as well, and aiming towards the Kiwis. It is a race now for the Kiwis to get some pressure and get that foiling.
Switzerland's in breeze. I like where the Swiss are at the moment. He should be able to stick this manoeuvre on board here. Pressure's on. How does he do? Oh, what a perfect time to go to our T-Mobile 5G camera. Does it stay put? Yeah, they're back on the foils. Swiss are going to do it from here.
They're about 300 meters away from the finish line in the shortened race. It is Switzerland who gave up the lead momentarily to the Kiwis, and then Peter Burling and New Zealand found themselves a bit of a hole as they have lost that lead, and now Nathan Outridge can see the finish line less than 300 meters away.
Just when I said the Wind Whisperer had gone the wrong way, the Swiss, Nathan Outridge, he got it right at the end. Canada up to second at the moment, and they're sailing in that better wind.
Yeah, we saw Phil do an extra manoeuvre there to stay in the pressure and follow in the route of the Swiss team.
So Canada has moved up to second, France has moved up to third, and New Zealand has dropped back to fourth. Final maneuver for the Swiss.
H1 exit. Transition this heel. Emmett confirming we're finishing here.
Nathan Outridge just checking all the boxes, just making sure. And at this point, Stevie, they can put both holes in the water and just cruise across casually to the finish line. So what a race here in race number 2. It was shortened, but no matter. Nathan Outridge and the Swiss will claim the win in race two here in New York City.
Tricky out there at the moment. Good work by the Swiss. The Kiwis are back up on foiling, showing his third. They should be able to stick this last manoeuvre, but for Canada, well, that's a huge moment for them. It's gone very, very well. Of course, for some of the crews, it could be about where they get round the top gate, gate number 3. That could be crucial for them.
Race will terminate in 4 minutes and 40 seconds from now.
Stiff neutral for me, please. Stiff as neutral. And turning. Runners are going up.
Peter Burling coming back into play here. He dropped back to fourth. It looks like he's going to be able to salvage a third. So Switzerland got a 6th in race number 1. They get a first place in race number 2. Canada a 4th and a 2nd.
And a really rough moment again here for the French team, who were in second, moved back, dropped back. Now they're in 5th and stuck still off of the foils. Now, with a 9th in the last place, they really needed the points here. They are just on the edge of qualifying in the overall for that grand final, and they need every point they can get here in New York to make that happen.
Peter Burling and the Black Foils cross the finish line. They will finish in 3rd place. But it is Switzerland and Canada that get to the finish line first. They get the 1st and 2nd spots. Peter Burling holding on again, as we said, for 3rd to go with his 5th in race number 1. So the consistency, Stevie, is still there. I mean, they didn't have their best race, but somehow Peter Burling found a way to get the points in third.
Yeah, they made a pretty clutch decision at Mark 1 that really pulled them up through the fleet, and I think that's been the trademark of their season, really. I don't see them having done a great job with the starts until they get to those final 3 boats, but Pete will tell me it doesn't matter until you're in the final 3 boats. That's the only race you've got to win. So, yeah, we see the Spanish here coming downwind. Nice result for them. They tend to do very well in these light, tricky conditions. They sail the boat smoothly. Look at that silky smooth turn there by Diego Boutin through their stay on the foils. They're going to glide across the finish line, and now we can see in the background,
here's the race.
You know, it's really, really tight with France and Australia. The French can't really afford for the Australians to overtake them here, but they have fallen off the foils. We've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds until the race terminates. What does that mean? That means that if Australia and France can get to this gate in that time, their result will stand. If not, go back to the positions at the previous gate. So pretty crucial for Australia and France to make the finish here and stick this.
Tom Slingsby able to take his hand off the wheel and get a good view.
Come on, let's just keep, there's not much.
All I saw there was anxiety. He just was willing the boat to get back on the foils. At the moment, it's stuck in the water. He's struggling to get in the water. The French, though, they're coming into the finish. Kiwis really need to get out of the way. A bit of acceleration from the coach boat there. France are off the foils, but they're pretty lined up for the finish, and I think they're going to be okay to stay in 5th. It's so gusty. There's just more wind towards the fans. Up in the screen there, top right of corners, that's where the fans are on Governor's Island. There's more wind there.
And less than 2 minutes now until this race terminates.
So France really has about a minute 45 to see if they can drift across the finish line, because here comes Emirates GBR with speed at 25 kilometers an hour, and the Australians still have breeze.
The Australians have really dropped off the foils, and you saw how tense Tom looked on the boat there. He's lost a place to Great Britain. We know how much places mean. Could be crucial for Giles Scott getting back towards 6th here. It's so tight in the pack. Painful for these crews, but that's just how it is. We're powered by nature. Nature turns on and off. Very, very cloud-driven day here with the thunderstorms in and around the place, causing the wind to be up and down.
So a minute away from termination, it looks like France is going to drift across just in time. The big question is who's going to finish in 6th and 7th? Will it be Emirates GBR, the winners of race number 1, or will it be Australia? We'll have to update that momentarily, but it looks like the French are in clean. France will take 5th. Big winners in race number 2, the Swiss.
And once again, it was the start that won the race overall. The Swiss came flying in with 10 seconds to go, up on the foils. First boat to cross line, again, less than a second. The French hot on their tails, but the French's first maneuver dropped them off the foils, giving the Swiss that advantage.
Yeah, and it was pretty silky smooth by the Swiss out of that mark. You could hear them encouraging the wind onto the boat. They got up and foiling. You saw the speed suddenly grow, and the Swiss were gone. Big lead moved away, and it was the French with some slight errors. Errors just got absolutely punished in this breeze, and it was the Kiwis that sailed very through, decided to make a little move away from the fleet. Burling made the tactical call to attack. The attack worked pretty well at this stage. They looked very good on board that New Zealand boat away from things, but it was this manoeuvre looked a little bit rushed to me. Be interesting what they were rushing for, but there was just a lot less wind there. They fell off the foils, and that was it. Swiss back, took the win. Tricky tacticians race course.
And let's send it down to Lisa Darmanin, who's with Nathan Outridge and the winning team, the Swiss.
Well, Nathan, it doesn't look easy out here. Does it feel easy?
It's definitely not easy out here. It's very shifty conditions today. The first race was probably a bit more simple, but that last one got super dynamic, and it helps when you get a good start and get that first shift. But yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking on that last downwind when the Kiwis took the other mark and made a huge gain. So yeah, it wasn't over till it was over, but our team started a fantastic race, and it was nice to get a race win.
And when your boat is in the water, when everyone else is up on the foils, how are the stress levels?
It's extremely stressful when you're in the water and others are foiling, and it's a huge relief when you're foiling and they're not. So, you know, we definitely had our fair share of foiling and disappearing in that race, but we were talking about at the top mark that it's not over till it's over, because you had to get back through the bottom where there's next to no wind. So this third race is going to be really tricky.
And how are you going to use the next little bit to prepare for the next race?
Well, we'll just have a little chat with the guys and talk through some of the boat handling stuff. Obviously, it was a good start, that race, so try to work out how we replicate that again. And hopefully our coach is in the booth right now, Emmett Lazic, having a good look at what the weather's doing and giving us some tips before we start.
I'll let you roll into it. Thanks, Dave.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Nathan Outridge. So the Swiss get the win in race number 2. Remember, Emirates GBR gets the win in race number 1. That's how it plays out so far. Remember, 10 points for the win. So right now it is Canada by consistency at 4th and a 2nd. So it's 16, 15, 14. New Zealand currently sitting in 3rd place with Emirates GBR just missing out as it stands, but there's still 3 more fleet races, 1 more today with Emirates getting that 7th place in the 2nd race. That really hurt them. Australia currently sitting in 5th. The Americans, they are really struggling on their home waters. It's all about making the top 3 by the time SailGP arrives in San Francisco. That is the big show, and that's where $2 million will be contested in front of a packed house. New Zealand leads the way with 83 points. Spain sits in 2nd on 72. And Australia, they currently sit in 3rd. It's been a tough go for the 3-time champions of SailGP. The Aussies are looking for a big momentum shift as they prepare to hopefully defend their crown in San Francisco later on in July.
So far this season, we've had a lot of highs and lows. We started really well, we were consistent, got out to a nice lead.
Here on home waters, Tom Slingsby works his magic. Hocus pocus, Australia takes the win in Sydney.
And then since Christchurch, where we had the big crash into the mark and copped a lot of penalty points.
Australia's blocked by Canada, they can't turn, they're gonna crash. Canada! Oh, contact, Australia, turn, they've run over the mark's underneath the boat. Carnage on board the Australian boat.
Yeah, we're done here, guys. Sorry.
They received a 12-point penalty in this event and got 8 points docked from the season championship.
Tom Slingsby, disaster in New Zealand, but back with a bang here in Bermuda.
And then we had a few technical issues on day 2, which, yeah, I'm not saying that cost us a win because I think the Spanish deserved that win, but we probably weren't firing on all cylinders there. And then Halifax, day 1, we didn't sail to our potential. That's on us. And then day 2, unfortunately, we had some technical issues. And then in the final race where no one touched a button and the inverter fired through and we capsized.
Oh my word! Oh, they got the wing all went wrong there. Something went wrong with the wing invert again.
Since then, really, we've been really struggling to get the momentum, and we feel like we're putting the right things in place in terms of our technique and pushing ourselves to our full potential. But
it is hard to really stay focused as a team when you sort of battle a bit of adversity. I had a bit of a short temper because it feels like we've been battling a few issues, but I've got an amazing team. We're a family here at Team Australia, and we've got a culture that we're never going to give up and we're going to keep fighting. So I have full faith that we'll be in the final in San Francisco.
I mean, we're still just inside the top 3 at the moment, which is comforting. Obviously, we've never been in this position where we're on the cusp, I suppose. Second sucks. We're going to win here in New York, and then we're going to win again at San Fran.
Well, as Stevie Morrison mentioned earlier, SailGP is powered by nature. We're all about sustainability. And so with that in mind, we've taken a lot of the teams off the water, off the boats, and put them in this position. This is called Race HQ, and this is where all the coaches and teams gather the information that they share with one another across the board. So you've got 10 international teams all taking part, and this is where they hang out. So this gives us an opportunity to go onshore, and we've got Ben Durham, the coach for Australia. Ben, the big question now, what do you do with these conditions in race number 3, and what are you telling Tom and the crew they can have their very best showing here on the last race of the day?
Yeah, it's certainly getting tricky out there, and this current's certainly becoming a bit of an influence out there as well. Perhaps not quite what the model was showing, which is interesting, so we're just discussing that. But yeah, just got to keep the boat going fast and keep clear air.
Ben, you're quite renowned for your...
Struggled a little bit there.
Ben, you're quite renowned for your motivational speeches, and I guess, you know, you're trying to keep yourself in the now right now, but, you know, there's a little bit of pressure on this team, perhaps for the first time ever, in terms of that $2 million race in San Francisco. Is your head there at all?
No, not at all. Things are never as good as they say them and never as bad as they say them, right? So we just keep going on here and keep doing what we know what we can do. We'll be okay.
Ben, appreciate the time. We wish you and the Australian team the very best of luck in the third and final race today.
Thank you.
That's Australia head coach Ben Durham in Race HQ. We are less than 3 minutes away from the third and final race. This is the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix from New York City. The last race of the day coming up next.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together.
Racing on the Edge takes us back and behind the scenes to the moment the United States SailGP team would rather forget. Their capsize in Bermuda that ended their weekend.
Oh my Lord!
American capsize!
As soon as I was ripped out of the cockpit, you know, within half a second probably, I landed on the wing. And next thing I know, you know, within 2 seconds, I was actually being pulled onto the water. And at that moment, now you're in the water, upside down, not able to breathe. You're like, okay, what's my next step? And luckily, with all the safety training we've done, I, you know, reached for my regulator and grabbed my air.
We get him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. You go from, man, are my friends okay? Are my teammates safe? And once you realize that they are, you're thankful. But pretty quickly you go into, oh my God, are we going to be able to race tomorrow? I hope so.
You've got some abrasions, and yeah, I think it's all bruising and soft tissue.
I hit the wing, like arm first, I think.
Yeah, I can see the bruise.
Pretty bad through here, it feels like.
Well, if it's fractured, which I will assume that it is, 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
Until the X-ray.
Sorry about that.
So disappointed.
I don't think we're going to be sailing.
Say.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together.
So we are a minute away from the third and final race of the day here at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin with you. And it is all about points. Get as many as you can right now. It has been Canada that's been the most consistent. They sit atop the board. Then Switzerland and New Zealand and Great Britain, the top 4 teams. And at the bottom of that leaderboard, Stevie Morrison, you see Germany -4 points, and that is due to the contact they had in practice yesterday with the Australians.
They started with a bit of blister on their foot for this event, did they? But look, the wind's really dropped here. Of course, the wind shadow becomes percentage-wise way more important. So all those boats in the pack are struggling here. Rockwool, Denmark, can they wind it up? A late turn in by United States at the bottom of the line. They look like they might be late, but this could work out well for them there. Aggressive moves by Taylor Canfield. Has he judged it right? Middle of the line, Canada Canada are well positioned. Germany show us the pole position place right now, but I like where Canada is, and the Swiss, they're sliding through, but can they accelerate? That was a slow motion start there, but it tactically so tricky in the pack. Australia will struggle. Rockwool Denmark looking to accelerate the boat now, and it's all about maximising the performance from those big 24-metre wings and accelerating the boats. Rockwool Denmark are going well.
Stay on the sheet, Raz,
and if you look closely, you'll notice there's a different setup on board for this race. There's only 5 sailors on board, so trying to make the boats that little bit lighter and trying to get up and foiling. What will be really interesting to see which teams have dropped which athletes. Typically, we see them drop a grinder, but we know in the case of the US team, they have a male strategist, so they could switch things up differently.
Unfortunately for France, bad news. They do really well in big winds. These are light winds, and they get a penalty. And we're just getting word that race has been abandoned, so this will be a complete scratch. Just not nearly enough wind to get these foiling F-50s up and motoring. Stevie, in these kind of conditions, this could take 20 minutes just to get to mark number 1.
Well, it's just really changeable, and I think it'd be quite good now to find out from Lisa what she can see. I mean, what we really need to see is what's happening with the clouds around the area. We know there's some storm cells around. When they bring wind, they also suck wind away. So, Lisa, what are you seeing on the water?
We'll get back to Lisa Darman in just a moment, but again, race management has abandoned race number 3.
So while we can't hear from Lisa, I've got the data from the boat so we can see what their wind readings currently are. And across the course at the moment, we've got 6 kilometers an hour of pressure. But what's really wacky is the direction. So at the top of the course, we've got a direction of 220 degrees, while at the bottom of the course, we're seeing 290. So that's pretty different across the course, and you're not able then to run a fair race.
So the fans will get up, stretch their legs. We will wait to see what the decision is for race management, but it does not look like, Emily, from the data you're telling me and the things that we're seeing out here in New York City, that there's a lot of wind coming in the next 15, 20 minutes.
I wouldn't say that. We can't see what's coming. I can only tell you what there is at this very moment. So all it takes, one cloud.
Yeah, I think there's every chance we do get better breeze. I think it's so dynamic and so changeable at the moment because these storm cells are popping up around here, and they're going to put wind coming out of them when they do come. So I think we've got every chance of things changing. There you go, look at that, what a fantastic shot there. That dark cloud over there over Manhattan, that'll be potentially sucking the wind out at the moment, but it only needs to move a little bit, change its mind, and start to blow the breeze back towards us, and we'll start to get a good breeze back through. So everyone needs to stay on their feet. The crews, most importantly, need to stay on your feet. We're on board the boat right now, New Zealand, those teams. Let's not get too far away from the start line because it doesn't take much for Mel Roberts to fire the gun and say we're into a race.
Well, we wait for that decision to be made. We want to remind you as season 4 of SailGP draws to a close, all eyes are on season 5, and a big announcement as 10 becomes 11. The SailGP is currently heading their way down to South America as they make their footprint south of the equator. Nerves of steel as they approach mark number 1. The battle is on. So it's Bem-vindo, Brazil, as the league now makes its foray down into South America and touching down in Brazil. Stevie, Emily, this is huge news, bringing Brazil into the fold.
I think this is going to be an amazing team to get to watch, to see them grow. We don't officially know a crew yet, but we know there are some incredible Brazilian sailors, particularly in that Olympic circuit. You've got the likes of Martin Grael and Cayena Kunz, who have won 2 Olympic gold medals and on their way to Paris 2024 this summer to potentially win a 3rd. So it would be brilliant to see both of them on the water.
Big question is, Stevie, who gets the green and gold, the Australians or the Brazilians?
Well, I don't know. Seems to be a lot of red and white out there, so a couple of green and golds might not be impossible, but we'll see what happens with that. It's just so exciting to go to a new venue. Hopefully we'll maybe get down to Rio, where the 2016 Olympics were, and there's plenty of sailors out on the water that had some nice experiences in 2016 in Rio. Everyone's going to be excited to get there. Just an iconic location, just like we got here in New York.
So there's so many opportunities that you could sail down off the coast of Brazil, and we will see what happens as we look forward to the release of the calendar for season number 5 as the Canadians, they want to get out and race. But the big news coming out of the press conference, 10 becomes 11, and SailGP welcomes Brazil to the SailGP family. Much more from there and that story, and hopefully much more racing from New York City than Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. So the fleet now gets an opportunity to reset themselves. They'll wait to hear from race management as everyone is looking to the conditions all around what's called the tri-state area. New Jersey, New York, Connecticut is wind coming. You see the clouds off to the right-hand side of the screen. And will that fill in? That's what everyone is wondering. Will the breeze come in, or will they have to abandon for the day because not enough pressure, not enough wind to bring the racing and the foiling up to test? So as we wait, we have an opportunity to bounce around the fleet and talk with some of these teams. Lisa Darmanin caught up with Canada's Phil Robertson.
Phil, well, it's getting pretty grim out here, obviously super light, but you guys have had a consistent day considering how tough it's been.
Yeah, it's been extremely tricky. Just keeping the boat foiling's been a big challenge, and there's quite a lot of current as well, so the boat just feels horrible when you've got current underneath, the sort of going in all different directions. So it's frustrating at times, just not feeling fast and loose, but it's yeah, it's been good.
Is it hard when you're going so slow to be able to get over to where you see the pressure?
Yeah, it's actually quite hard to see the pressure as well, but you kind of just got to trust your instincts a bit in this stuff and go where the gut tells you, and it's actually doing more manoeuvres and less, and typically you don't want to really calm the manoeuvres down in the light winds, but throwing a few in that last downwind of that last race was key.
Now, I don't know if the wind's going to come back in, but if it doesn't, what would a start like this look like? Obviously, it's a completely different game.
Yeah, it's a very different game when you're sort of 2 hulls in the water. The starts are very different. We call them elbows out. You've got to sort of fight for your position and not let anyone sort of get near and lock your little spot down. But yeah, it's very hard. You're sort of, it's unknown for us, so you're sort of kind of thinking on your feet and yeah, winging it a bit.
And configuration-wise, if you drop down to 4 people on board, what's sort of your layout from front to back?
Yeah, the big one is we actually move, our strategist goes right forward onto the grinder, and we have quite a small strategist in Annie, and we actually call it Arnie when she gets on the pumps because she turns it on.
Perfect. Well, we'll let you prepare for the next one, and thanks for chatting, Phil.
Nice, cheers.
So racing has been suspended for the day, which means after 2 races, Canada leads the way, Switzerland is second, New Zealand and Great Britain tied for third. The fans still enjoying a beautiful day here in New York City, day 1 of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix here in New York Harbor and Governor's Island. Racing has been suspended for the day, so what was to be 3 is just 2 races, and now we can decompress and look towards tomorrow. Lisa Darmanin caught up with Pete Burling in New Zealand. Let's go down on the water and see if we can catch up with Pete Burling. Pete, tell us how the first 2 races went and the disappointment that you must be feeling not being able to race in the 3rd race.
Yeah, we're a little disappointed that they called that third race off. We got ourselves into an absolute beauty of a start down the leeward end. Felt like we were pretty comfy going to be leading at Mark 1, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what they were thinking there. Normally you keep sailing. I mean, if you look at like events like Abu Dhabi where you know, a little bit lighter at the start, you keep going. So a weird decision, but yeah, to live with it, and pretty happy to be walking away third on the overall leaderboard. Then yeah, snakes and ladders, but yeah, not too bad.
Pete, I guess you can only control what you control, and you seem to have that boat going pretty fast around the racetrack out there. Some interesting chats between you and Blair at the top of that race too. An interesting decision you had to make versus Nathan. You chose to split. How obvious is it to see the breeze and make those tactical decisions out there?
Well, definitely the chat between me, Nath, Liv. It's quite interesting in this stuff. You actually got a lot more time to talk about things than you perhaps would if it was a little bit windier. So, yeah, bit of a shame we couldn't make the right decision with plenty of chat and building up to it, but it is what it is. And I think it's always frustrating to be leading down the last run and ended up third, but kind of it's racing in New York for you.
Blair, I don't know if you can hear me, but a little bit of a giggle on there. Clearly hearing that Nathan got promoted to your position on the wing trim in that. How is it in the wing trimming in that? Such a changeable day, Blair.
Yeah, that's surely what I was smiling about. But no, in that situation we were trying to take him down. But no, it's challenging. The wind's up and down the whole time, even before it went to a mill pond like this. It was ranging anywhere from 20 knots to 7 or 8. So just trying to keep the boat going fast the whole time, and we did that mostly. A couple of opportunities missed, but we're in a good place for tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Wish you the best of luck, and hopefully the wind fills in tomorrow so you can show us what you can do. But New Zealand currently sitting in third place overall after 2 races. So let's take a look at the standings. What was 3 is now 2. It is Canada that leads the way with 16. Switzerland sits at second on 15 points, and New Zealand and Emirates GBR tied on 14. So from New York, we go back to the previous event number 11. It was Halifax in Nova Scotia, where the conditions were absolutely epic.
It's a pretty picture perfect start from Canada, but the German boat, wow, absolutely flying through the fleet there. Perfect timing for Eric Heil. It's going to be a sprint between France and Germany towards Mark 1.
All the boats are on our bow, you see them.
Yes. Tight moment here, France and Great Britain. Now the British are going to fall off the foils as soon as they're overlap right now. The British have to stay clear of France. Pierre was very kind to him there. He didn't need to do much more.
Around your side, right, John?
And the win in race number 1 in Halifax goes the way of the Spanish.
Pierre, oh, he's a little bit loose, but great second place for the French crew.
And it looks like Emirates GBR will hold on for third. That's great points for them.
Here come the French. They're coming in hot. Delapierre, is there room? It's going to be marginal. I think there is. Oh, he's striving like he stole it. Quentin Delapierre, have a look at it. What a job. He snaked his way through. New Zealand have accelerated in time. Should be able to hang on to second place, but what a start by the French.
Joking, this guy. Buffed us 16 times.
Marcus down the
coming up.
Oh, and it's Australia off the foils.
They're going to be out the back of the fleet here with work to do. They're full of water.
Standing by.
Come on, mate.
Nice, here we go. Popping on this side. Nice job.
He's off the foils, so great up in leg, but they're off the foils on Canada. And the black foils, well, they're up to second.
I'm happy to ask you sailing this clear to finish.
That was the plan, and Denmark stuck to
it.
Race number 2 goes the way of the Great Dane and Rockwool, Denmark. Peter Burling and the Kiwis, the black foils, they will take second place. And Phil Robertson from 7th to 3rd for Canada.
New Zealand are up and foiling, Australia up and foiling. Don't see much of a gap for New Zealand. Oh, he's trying to thread the needle. Have a look at Peter Burling. How's your timing at the bottom of the line here, Australia? Coming in hot. Oh, brilliant by Slingsby. Absolute perfection.
Penalty over the line early. Switzerland, Germany.
What's your decision, Giles? Do you want to turn right or do you take Lisa's advice and go left?
Are we crossing hand? Take a look. Coming up.
Oh, they go
left.
They didn't think they were crossing. That's a late decision. They're both going to be slow. Australia are back in the race. New Zealand are dropped out. Oh, Canada on the inside. Did he have room? Oh, I don't know if he did. That could be a question asked there. Very late.
GBR not entitled to mark through. And race number 3 will go to the Australians as Tom Slingsby bounces back to get the final race here on day number 1 in Halifax. At the line, Emirates GBR,
Really nice day, guys.
Phil Robertson and the Canadians.
Who's got the timing right? Middle of the line. Rottwell, Denmark and France look fast. New Zealand are slow. Here come the French. On the inside, it's going to be Australia. They should have tactical control as we head towards Part 1.
Here we go as they come to gate number 2. It's France, it's Australia, and it's Denmark. 1, 2, and 3 as the Canadians break away. Australian, Canada looking close.
Coming down now.
Oh, it was an aggressive turn. It could be a capsize for the Australians. Oh, what a save, Carl Langford. Brilliant save on the wing there. Robertson, oh, the match race 2-time world champion. He hunted that Australian boat there. What a job by the Canadians. And right now, the Australians are dead in the water.
And in race number 4 on Championship Sunday, it is Oh Canada. The Canadians bring it home for the win. France will hold on for 2nd place, and that sets things up for a wonderful race number 5.
Can Slingsby find a gap to thread the needle? I think I like where Great Britain is right now. Watch the lines turn white. It's clear. New Zealand have nailed it. Great Britain nailed it. Look at the breeze. This is going to be hammered out.
Really quick out of Part 1.
There's tight moment. New Zealand have got to keep clear. And the Spanish could play spoilers here. They've got over the Kiwis. What work by Botin and crew. Got themselves back in the race. Kiwis looking down there. 93 kilometres an hour on board the British boat. Oh, he's sending it hard there.
What's interesting, Todd, is this race really good. Australia's going to get Australia!
Oh my word! Oh, they got the wing all went wrong there. Something went wrong with the wing invert again. Oh no, have a look at it. Oh look, the wing just starts to invert. Someone pressed the button or something. They've had a problem with that wing invert. Look, it just flips the boat over. Canada on the inside. They have the right of way, but New Zealand are foiling and they're going to blow around the outside pretty easy here.
Look how close!
Oh, I'm surprised Berlin didn't need to push that close to them. Canada just trying to slow them up.
No water.
Oh, what does that mean? Canada are out the final as it stands at the moment.
Yep, that'll put them into 4th, but New Zealand also out.
Can we pump?
All kinds of chaos in Halifax. The 5th race goes the way of the Gallos. Vamos Gallos. Spain gets the win. Emirates GBR will take 2nd, the French will take 3rd, and with Denmark crossing in 4th, that could do in the Kiwis.
And that is confirmed. That puts GBR, France and Denmark through to the final race.
Nice job, guys.
Oh my god.
Here come the British, they're up and foiling. They're going to start to press on the French, but it's about acceleration. All boats are early here. Here we go, 4 seconds, watch for the line to turn right. Who's got the time? Great by the British, they're out the middle of the line. Pole predictor says they look good, but all the boats were slow. It's an acceleration competition from here. Tactically, I like where Great Britain is, but can the Vikings put down the thunder and roll over the top from up there? It's going to be good for Great Britain here.
Coming down in 2, easy. 5, working down.
At mark number 1 of the Rockwell Canada Sail Grand Prix Halifax. It is
go boys.
GBR that gets the Fritz Tuxton right behind them, and here come the Danes.
Look at the top of the mast there, 90 kilometres an hour on the barrelway.
Good pressure in the mark with the
Needs to
barrelway.
go wide here. Watch out. That's what I mean. Those two are slowing each other up. France need to stay. Oh, but look at it. Carnage. Oh, the French had to keep clear. They got too high. That's handing it to the British.
Back to the winner's podium. It will be Emirates GBR that claims the win.
Ricky Bobby, that's the last, baby.
So that was Halifax. GBR takes it. Giles Scott and crew, congratulations to them. And in New York City, it's GBR that gets the win in race 1. Switzerland gets the win in race number 2. So on behalf of Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris. We'll see you tomorrow for day 2 of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. The best sailors in the world battle it out on the Hudson River at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
Ahoy!
Start by Rottwell, Denmark.
That bottom left corner now. the tide change.
Switzerland with the perfect start. Big winners in race number 2, the Swiss.
Thanks, boss.
For decades, travelers and explorers have passed through New York Harbor in search of fortune as the New World welcomed immigrants from around the world. Today, it is one of the busiest harbors in the United States and now hosts the final day of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. Surrounded by towering skyscrapers and iconic sporting venues like Yankee and Shea Stadiums, Madison Square Garden, and Arthur Ashe Stadium, today Lower Manhattan welcomes the planet's elite sailors to battle it out on the Hudson River for event supremacy. After an abbreviated schedule due to weather on day 1, points today will be at an all-time premium as the 10 international teams look to earn enough points to be in the top 3 and ensure their spot in the event final later this afternoon. With Olympian Stevie Morrison and former world champion Emily Nagel, I'm Todd Harris. After 11 events around the globe with just San Francisco remaining, it is the Black Foils of New Zealand that hold down first place. Spain has moved into second after their most recent win in Bermuda, and then it's the 3-time champions Australia who occupy third overall. France and Denmark are just on the outside looking in, 4th and 5th respectively. Winners of the last event in Halifax, Emirates Great Britain are in 6th, even with Canada. Then it's the USA, Germany, and Switzerland. Before we kick off today's racing, let's recap day 1.
New York is without doubt one of the most iconic racetracks of the SailGP season. And day 1 saw the 10 world-class teams trying to figure out this complex course with strong current and variable wind.
Be clean at Rockwell and try to attack up the upwind.
Copy. I think we've got to be a little wary of that bottom left corner now with the tide change.
Which mark has wind, do you think?
Great start by Rockwell, Denmark. Our Lady Liberty's got a look at the Brits on the inside.
Emirates Great Britain used their coach comms to keep on top of their strategy.
There's no problem jibing on the mark, Rob.
Rob isn't on the boat, so that's their coach, Robbie Wilson, and he's talking to them about the big picture strategy.
So it's Emirates GBR that comes to New York City and gets the win in race number 1.
Nice work, guys.
Australia were desperate to get past Denmark, but found themselves having to defend against Canada in the final moments. Race 2 saw Switzerland take the start and establish a huge lead. Peter Burling found better wind and took the lead from Nathan Outridge.
God, there's a lot of pressure on this manoeuvre. That almost looks a bit rushed.
Only to fall off the foils and hand the lead straight back.
Big winners in race number 2, the Swiss.
Thanks, boss.
With New Zealand stuck with 2 hulls in the water, Canada sailed into second place and ended the day as the most consistent team on the water.
Nice, guys.
So following just 2 races on day 1 due to weather, it's the Canadian squad that leads. Great opening day, but can Phil Robertson's teams close the deal? The Swiss are in second, and then it's the Black Foils of New Zealand and Emirates Great Britain tied for third. Australia, Rockwell, Denmark, and Spain are the next 3. France, the USA, and Germany have yet to find their pace in the Big Apple. Only 20 points are left for the taking with 2 full fleet races scheduled for today, and then it's the event final with only 3 teams out on the water. We are nearly ready for the first race of the day. Before that, let's check in with Stevie Morrison, who breaks down today's course in the New York Harbor.
Our racetrack's on the Hudson River. They've got to be behind the line at 0, and then it's a sprint to mark 1. From here, the course opens up, and there's no one path. At the gate, the boats can turn left or right. They must sail at an angle to the wind to get speed on the F50s. That's why we see them taking an open course. These blue marks on the screen here, they indicate the flow of the current. There's a lot of that to add into their tactical equation today. It's a short course, so overtaking won't be easy. It's the pressure on the drivers to deliver a show-stopping performance to finish first in front of the fans on the shoreline.
Thank you, Stevie. The entire fleet is ready to go in race 3, but the big question still remains, what will the conditions be throughout the day? For more on that and the latest fleet news, we check in down on the water with Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Good news, Todd, is the wind has filled in just in time for racing. Winds are averaging around 19 kilometers per hour and gusting to 25 kilometers per hour from the southwest. So a little further right, which means hopefully there's a little bit more even wind across the course. They've got the 24-meter all-purpose swing and light air boards. It's going to be another tough day of to foil or not foil, but we should see them absolutely ripping on the way to Mark 1 up in the air. So it's going to be another great race.
This is Race Committee. The course for race 3 is 5MS. The axis is 195, length is 0.7 nautical miles. Good luck.
And that is Melanie Roberts, race management. So we are good to go here in New York City. Day number 2 of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. With the Manhattan skyline in the distance, the 10 international teams are now in the start box as we are 45 seconds away from race number 3. Remember, it's 10 points for the winner, 1 point for last. It's all about getting the maximum points. And Stevie, the dance begins. Where do you want to be?
Oh, the positioning's going to be so hard on this start line. It's a short leg to mark 1, so that inside position, the end of the start line near the top of our screen where New Zealand are sitting now, that's a pretty good place to be. But United States, they're up on foiling. Our pole predictor, the yellow dot at the top of the Danish wing there, they suggest they've got a great space, but I don't see how they're going to thread the needle from there right now. Who's got their timing right? Australia are foiling in the middle of the line, Switzerland towards the top of the line, but it's all about hitting the line when it turns wide at speed. France could have timed this perfect. They're coming through on the slingshot. The French look good. Oh, what a blanket start.
Early start penalty, USA and Australia.
Oh, they need to drop to the back of the fleet, and with just a 4-race series to get to the final, pressure on Australia. But France, Delapierre needed a start, and he slingshots out of the gun.
So Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell delivers the news to the Americans and the Australians. They'll have to drop back as they approach mark number 1. This is race number 3 here in New York City, and you gotta like the position of both the French and the British.
Oh, the French are going to be able to hold on the inside there, and it's no distance to the first turn. New Zealand are on the inside. Expect them to split first. They'll be the first boat back out into clear wind, and it's all about the execution of the manoeuvre. Brilliant foiling jibe by the French.
The first 3 teams have all managed to execute that foiling jibe, which we know is critical at this first boundary where it is lighter under the shoreline.
There are the speeds across in both miles per hour and kilometers. Much different than what we had yesterday as Lisa Darmanin reporting the weather and the wind is cooperated today. It is the French, it is the British, it is the Kiwis out in front with Phil Robertson, currently the Canadians' overall leaders after 2 races.
Interesting to see what happens here tactically, Todd. A lot of the teams looking to keep things simple manoeuvres-wise. Expect a split potentially here from New Zealand, and we're going to learn a lot about the course on this upwind leg. France lead, and they're well set up from here.
Working up in 2.
The British, they need a big result. They had a good first day, but they're just out of those top 3 places. It's so tight in the top 3. Spain, way out the back at the moment, and for the season points, let's remember it's all about that battle for the grand final in San Francisco. And Spain, they will not like the look of this, or will Denmark.
Currently, it is good news for GBR along Governor's Island shore. They've got 28 kilometers an hour of wind, while the French have slightly less further offshore, but anything can change.
So they'll make their way, of course, on leg 3 of 7, as Stevie mentioned in the course preview. It's a tight course, Stevie, but there still are places where you can make passes.
Yeah, I think that the hard thing today is finding space. Interesting here, we saw New Zealand in the middle of the screen, and they'd chosen to turn away across the middle. Obviously, if you're France or Great Britain, it's kind of easy. You're leading out of one of the marks, you've got clear wind. It's if you're in the pack, how do you find an overtake? And I think the feature in New Zealand's season has been finding that space when there really isn't a lot of space. There you go, look at them, on their own, no surprise there, heading towards, well, we don't know what wind right now, but they're able to sail the boat free and fast, and that's what they're so good at.
Free and fast, and also making sure they do their manoeuvres in the best pressure. We see a lot of the teams sail right up to the shoreline, try and manoeuvre in a lull and drop off the foils, well here, picture perfect.
There we go, on board with a 5G T-Mobile POV camera, on board with the black foils, the Kiwis looking very good. They are the overall leaders in the series so far after 11 events.
Pressure all this way.
They're right back in it. They've got the right away over Great Britain, but I think they're clear ahead. Yeah, here we go. Let's watch the British manoeuvre here. Hannah Mills already on the new side. She's trying to look for the win. She's in that strategist role. Ian Jensen, he's across quick. Fast spin on the wheel.
Hey, yours. Straight. Small pressing.
Hannah Mills takes the wheel momentarily. Giles Scott crosses over. Remember, Emirates GBR coming off a big win in Halifax, Canada. Bit of a drought for them, but they are looking very solid.
And currently this would see them through to the final in that lead position with Canada hot on their heels and the Kiwis. But the Swiss have some work to do if they want to steal that spot and make their first final.
Oh, Canada, Todd, they've missed the final. They've choked, you might say, in the last two events. They've been so well positioned after day one. Can Phil Robertson and his crew hold it together today?
Like we said, Stevie, everyone seems to do well on day number one. It's can you close the deal when the pressure's on day number two? And that's the situation today. Only 2 races yesterday. There's normally 3, so we'll have 2 fleet races and then the event final. That's only the top 3 teams as they approach gate number 3.
Well positioned by Emirates Great Britain. They're going to lead round here. Big lead. Australia have got a penalty for going outside a boundary, I think. We might find out about that. It was a bit off our screen, but for France, for Great Britain and for Canada, they're well set. New Zealand are going to split the course again here. Should be able to find space with a right turn at the top, but it's been a great upwind leg for Giles Scott.
Going further here. Yeah, going further, coming down. No low. 12. Up 5. Stand by. Forward. All the way hit. 3, 2, 1. Turning.
See the boats that turn left at the top are all having to manoeuvre away from Governor's Island straight away. That shoreline right in front of them. Beautiful foiling manoeuvre by Canada. There goes Phil running across. Last man to cross will be Billy Gooderham, the flight controller. Here he goes.
We'll power out that jib, please.
Steve, it's amazing after all the work they're doing out there for the grinders crossing back and forth, how calm their voices still remain.
Yeah, I mean, comms is key, isn't it, in this kind of thing, and that choreography is well practiced, and it's absolutely crucial. As soon as you see any of the teams sounding slightly heightened, you know things probably aren't going to go very well. Tempo is key.
So it's Great Britain, France, and Canada.
Pressure's going to increase as we go this way.
Two-time Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills. She is the tactician, Stevie. What's she seen and how is she spotting that pressure?
Well, she's looking for wind on the water. She's not talking about the pressure they're feeling in terms of their nerves and tension. She's talking about the wind on the water, and she's just looking for darker patches. But I think it's quite a hard read on the water today because there's a lot of current out there. Lisa, you're on the water. How are you feeling? How easy is it to see the breeze out there?
It's really difficult to see the breeze out here, and that's because when the water is moving because of the current, the wind ripples are very different. So the sailors, you look for the dark patches, the ripples on the water. So it is quite confusing. You might think there's some wind there, you go, and it's actually just current. So the current is playing with the tactics as well, but to me, that side away from Governor's Island definitely looks like it has more breeze. It's easier to do those foiling maneuvers. So I think, yeah, it's a really difficult day to be a sailor.
Here we go, Lisa, into gate number 4. This is going to be tight. New Zealand makes the turn first, then it's Emirates GBR and the French, and they just passed behind them.
Yeah, right of way to Emirates and France there, so they've got round, but New Zealand, once again, they're going to lead out of a mark in clear wind. They've got a chance to attack, but last time, that right turn for Great Britain was a good move. They made a gain heading towards Governor's Island early, so let's see if that's the same again this next time. But the first 4 boats, they're away, they're down the road, and for Rottwell, Denmark, Germany, it's time to make a move.
And GBR manoeuvring away from the island there, and they have managed to stay on the fours. We saw the French briefly touch down in theirs, but brilliant sailing by the British team.
Leg 5 of 7. We'll have 2 races and then the event final. And right now, Emily, it's Great Britain, Canada, and New Zealand that would be in there. Surprising, nowhere do you see on there the Australians.
Surprising indeed, but look, they're right out at the back, 9th place and with a penalty.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the penalty. I've heard rumours that they've had a glitch on their screen from our chief umpire, Craig Mitchell, but we'll check back in on that as soon as we can. See the Australian incident, I think, in a moment, potentially out on the waters we see. Here we go. We come on board the Australians. Oh, look at that. They get way high on the foil. Big crash down there. Oh, they've had a big issue there. Excuse us for the language on board. A bit emotional, as you can imagine. They just don't seem to catch a break on that Australian boat at the moment. And, of course, the trouble with flying out the water and crashing down like that is the water's then full. The boat's full of water. Anyway, back to the front. And what a 4 race we've got going on here. Perfect foiling from 2 of the teams. But Canada, they're up to 2nd. They're on the charge, but France have got the right of way. Who's going to call the bluff here? Will Canada try and cross? It's so tight.
No way Phil Robertson's backing down. No way.
Oh, Contant hunted him there. He turned towards him, but I think that was clean for me. The French couldn't quite get to him. New Zealand have space, but Giles Scott's a bit of a masterclass from the British at the moment.
Giles Scott, Emirates GBR out in front, leg 5 of 7. They'll go through gate number 5, then they'll come back up course and make a quick right-hand turn in front of the fans on Governor's Island for the finish. That would be a win in race number 3, and for Emirates GBR, that would give them a win in race number 1 and a 7th in race number 2 and a 1st. So Stevie, points would be fantastic for the Brits.
Yeah, so important. And really we see back in 7th at the moment the Swiss. They're the ones that need to make the move. We're on board the French again there. Look how high they're foiling that boat out of the water. Right there, manoeuvred right in front of the New Zealand team. Absolute aggressive manoeuvre, but at the moment it's the Canadians on the charge. They look to me like they're going to be very, very tight with the British. Right of way with Canada here. What does Giles Scott and Great Britain do? He chooses to cross, but it's going to be a very, very tight moment here. Right turn for Great Britain, left for Canada, and it's all on. There's just one leg left down to before the finish.
A really impressive leg there for Canada. Don't forget, at that bottom gate, they were fighting for 4th place. And all the way up into 2nd, almost 1st now.
So Phil Robertson's worked a little bit of voodoo magic out on the course here today because he is now back into 1st place. GBR's dropped to 2nd, France in 3rd, the Kiwis have dropped to 4th, and Denmark rounding out the top 5. The Americans, this has not been their regatta, Stevie, and what can you say? I mean, Emily, why are the Americans struggling so much?
So looking at the data from the Americans yesterday, we saw that the US team were the most dynamic on the wing controls and the flight control. And that does make sense. You've got a new wing trimmer in there who's trying to figure out how everything works, but he might be being a little bit too trigger happy, making too many changes, which is going to make it really hard for Taylor Canfield to drive. So I expect if they can figure out how to get locked in, a bit more stable, we should see some better manoeuvres and less losses.
Jeremy Wilmot put into that role, so it's a very tough baptism by fire for him and the Americans as they look to make moves. Meanwhile, back at the front of the race here as we come down to the closing moments, it is Phil Robertson and Canada that has taken the lead ahead of Emirates GBR, and it's one more turn around gate number 6, and it is the Canadians that lead the Brits with a finish line shortly.
Yeah, buddies, that's how you sell a race.
Not lacking confidence, Phil Robertson brings it in. The race is not over just yet, but barring disaster, Phil Robertson will be celebrating a big victory. That gives Canada a 4th place finish, a 2nd, and now a 1st.
Great performance by the Canadians there. That puts them in the box seat ahead of this 4th race and in the box seats in the race to make the top 3 here in New York. But
so
been in this position before.
Yes. Can they close out on this next race? Canada gets the win here in New York. Emirates GBR holds on for 2nd, and France, Quentin Delapierre in 3rd.
Huge gains by this Danish team as well in this past leg, moving up the fleet.
But they need more than this. They've got to make the top 3 here, Nikolai Sehested. He's not there at the moment. It's a good performance, but they're in behind New Zealand, and they're not that far ahead of Spain. Spain in 6th, and they really need season points. But the big story, 9th place at the moment, left-hand side of our screen there, Australia. We're hearing they've got data issues on board the boat. They're struggling to know exactly where the course boundaries are, hence they've had a few boundary penalties. But the Australians, they need a result here to have a chance of making that grand final in San Francisco.
You don't have to panic just yet with the Australians sitting on 71 points. They're 6 points clear in the overall ahead of France. So as long as they keep France basically from making event finals today and in San Francisco, they're going to be in good shape. But you'd expect a lot more for the 3-time reigning defending champions. And Stevie, they've run into a patch of bad water.
Yeah, they want to keep it in their own hands, don't they? And they want to get sailing fast and the boat working well for them. They look so fast in training, and then it's been a bit of a battle again since then as we see Spain. Solid result here, but potentially not going to be enough for a final performance, although with only 4 races in that race to get to the top 3, it's going to be so tight going into this final race. And there we see top of screen as well, Todd. The Americans, that's now 6 10th place finishes in a row, and I don't think they've beaten another boat since Sydney this year. So that's February, a lot of pressure on board that American team to start to find some results.
Nathan Outteridge is a race that he'd rather forget. The Swiss team finished 6th in race number 1 yesterday, and they came back and got the win in race number 2. So for them to drop off now down to 8th place, they're going to need a win and some help if they have any chance of making it into the final.
We'll just roll into a slow jog.
And it'll be Australia going around gate number 6. The Australians will take 9th, and the USA, as Stevie pointed out, will finish 10th place. 3 races here in the USA on home waters. Not the performance they were looking for.
So initially it looked like Great Britain and the Danish were set up for the best start here, up on the foils and going well, but the French stole the show. Up on the foils, they ducked behind the rest of the fleet to set themselves up for a rapid start, 55 kilometers an hour at the gun, and ultimately just beat the British team to Mark 1. Unfortunately, though, they didn't hold on to that lead.
Well, they didn't hold on to it. It's quite a tricky course. We've seen a lot of splits at the gate. This is gate 2 here, and we see the French chose the straightforward, no manoeuvre turn left, but then the British did choose to split the course. They turned right, and they found more wind on this upwind leg. It was really tight in the pack, but by the top marks, gate 3, it was Great Britain that had stretched away. They had a nice lead, and those top 4 boats really engaged in a proper battle round the course. I think what's so interesting in this race was it was definitely not super easy to see which side of the course was favoured here. Once again, Canada and Great Britain choose to split. The British had the first choice, but it was the Canadians that made the right decision here. They turned left, they found that little bit more breeze. Lisa was out on the water telling us that that's not easy to spot whilst out there. Canada found it after this one, brought it home to Mark 6, and for Canada, well, it's a crucial race win. Can they close it out in race 4?
Let's take a look at the standings now. After 3 races complete, it is Canada with a 4th, a 2nd, and a 1st. Phil Robertson and company trending in the right directions. They lead it with 26 points. Emirates GBR in 2nd on 23, and then New Zealand currently in 3rd on 21. So if it ended right now, those would be the 3 teams racing in the event final. Rockwell, Denmark, Switzerland, France, and Spain still with a shot, and it's just tough to see the Australians, the 3-time reigning champions, currently in 8th place only with 15 points. Tough sledding continues for the Germans and the Americans. So we're now able to go down on the water, and Canada, after a big day yesterday, leading coming into day number 2. Paul Campbell-James is going to take us through what happened. Paul, man, the waters out there are awfully tricky. What are you guys going to have to do in this next race to lock in that final position?
We've got to do what we haven't done in the last 2 regattas, which is not come last. But no, we seem to be sailing well, and yeah, that race was near perfect after the start. So yeah, we're happy sailing well. Just got to stay calm and sail well.
Annie, CJ set a pretty high bar for you in this last race there to try and avoid finishing last. What's going to be crucial out there? It doesn't look hugely easy to read what's happening.
I think just get off the line, keep your... That's pretty simple sailing.
It's pretty simple sailing. CJ, why has that not happened before then? It seems kind of, if you get in the pack, it seems really easy to lose a lot of boats very quickly.
Yeah, it is, but you know, in the last, actually all the races in this regatta, we've been in the pack and we've moved forward. So yeah, we feel pretty confident, and you know, it's been race 5 that's been our Achilles heel for the last 2 regattas, and we don't have a race 5 this regatta, so race 4 we're always pretty good.
Andy Hager, Paul Campbell-James, Team Canada, thank you very much for your time. And their driver, Phil Robertson, taking a break as we see the Canadians looking very good here as they get ready for race number 4 here at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
And taking a look at the numbers, we can see just how tight it was between those top 3 teams. Canada, Emirates GBR and France all had 100% fly time, not dropping a single manoeuvre, and of those 10 manoeuvres. But the key difference we can see here is that the Canadians sailed the same distance as the Brits, but faster. Meanwhile, the French opted for that fast mode that resulted in 300 meters extra distance sailed and ultimately lost it.
So with Mother Nature cooperating, can the Canadians close the deal, and can they punch their ticket into the event final? We're about to find out. Race number 4 on the Hudson River when we come back to the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
Mubadala and SailGP, making waves together.
Racing on the Edge takes us back and behind the scenes to the moment the United States SailGP team would rather forget. Their capsize in Bermuda that ended their weekend.
Oh, they fell! Oh, my Lord!
American capsize!
As soon as I was ripped out of the cockpit, you know, within half a second probably, I landed on the wing. And next thing I know, you know, within 2 seconds, I was actually being pulled onto the water. And at that moment, now you're in the water, upside down, not able to breathe. You're like, okay, what's my next step? And luckily, with all the safety training we've done, I, you know, reached for my regulator and grabbed my air.
We get him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, but you go from, man, are my friends okay? Are my teammates safe? And once you realize that they are, you're thankful. But pretty quickly you go into, oh my God, are we going to be able to race tomorrow? I hope so.
You've got some abrasions, and yeah, I think it's all bruising and soft tissue.
I hit the wing, like arm first, I think.
Yeah, I can see the bruise.
Pretty bad through here, it feels like.
Well, if it's fractured, which I will assume that it is, 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
Until the X-ray.
Sorry about that.
So disappointed.
I don't think we're going to be sailing.
Say.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
A beautiful day and no better place to watch the world's best sailors than on the Adrenaline Lounge out on Governor's Island. Everyone getting in place for the next race that will carry a lot of weight as to who makes the event final. As all the teams get themselves into position for race number 4. Midway through season 4, the United States SailGP team came under a new joint ownership by individuals across tech, sports, and entertainment. It's a completely new crew led by Taylor Canfield and Mike Buckley, and they are already facing criticism this season.
The US team has been struggling a lot. As an investor of that team, I would be asking some serious questions. At some point, you've got to walk the walk and not just talk the talk.
We're focused on every minute that we're on the water improving. Everybody in this space hates to lose and is driven to put in the work to get to a point where we can win. It's easy to high five when you finish third in Abu Dhabi, you know, hey, great one, you know. It's hard to do that when you have maybe the worst day of sailing of your life in Bermuda, right?
Everyone has, you know, bounced back really well, and we're back on track with our process. So there's so much that goes into our performance. You know, we've kind of evaluated every team, and we want to make sure that we're taking the best pieces from each team, and you know, diving deep and analyzing those traits, because these boats are so complex. Looking back to season 1 from racing here in New York, you know, I rewatched a lot of the video, and man, I would say we're ahead of where pretty much all the teams were back then, and including some of the best teams in the league. So there's no doubt our progress is going to be quicker than the rest.
We're going to write our own story, and I don't know what that's going to end up being, but I think it's going to be a hell of a story to see how we started and how we finish.
It's definitely nice to be here on home waters and, you know, be cheered on by the home fans and the family and friends, and makes it extra special for us. So we're gonna work hard to try to put up a good result.
Less than 6 minutes away until we are racing again out on the Hudson. Alongside Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, and Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris. Great to have you with us here on day number 2 of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. Well, the action has been spectacular in race number 3. Stevie and Emily, it was Canada that rose up, and now the question is, can they deliver in a 4th race?
I think the thing, as Paul alluded to, they're sailing the boat fast, and ultimately when the wind is shifty and gusty like that, you've got to control what you can control, which is how you sail the boat. Be accurate with your manoeuvres, be accurate with the start line. There's a few technical gremlins out there at the moment, but that seems to be the same for everyone. It's how you adapt to this changing environment.
And ultimately, they just need to stay out of trouble. And I think that's especially important for France. We've seen them get into a few incidents this weekend. Play it safe.
Everyone doing the math right now, crunching the abacus to see if they have the points and what they need to get into that event final. It's surprising to see the Kiwis in that conversation. Right now, they sit in 3rd place on 21 points, but there is Denmark lurking just 3 points behind them, as is Switzerland. So can Nikolai Sehested and Nathan Outridge launch something to sink the Kiwis' opportunity of making it to yet another event final. We'll find out momentarily, as race number 4 is just minutes away. Just a short time ago, Lisa Darmanin caught up with the Kiwis and got their thoughts on what they might do in race number 4.
Well, Liv, it's pretty difficult out here to read the breeze. How are you finding this racetrack?
Yeah, it's definitely pretty up and down out here. It's a big difference when you can pick the pressure right, and I think it's hopefully making for some good watching.
Well, it is making for some good watching, Pete. It's obviously quite tactical, lots of boat-on-boat situations. How are you finding all those situations?
Yeah, I mean, that race we got off the line well and made some good decisions, made some terrible ones, and kind of held our position really from Mark 1. So, yeah, it's just about making sure you put the boat in the right spot. Yeah, it's really fun racing, quite tricky with the sea state, but yeah, interesting.
I think all the points are pretty close to the race to the final. Are you doing all the maths? Are you getting all the information off the shore at the moment, Liv?
Yeah, I mean, after yesterday, we all knew it was close, and I think we just want to go out there and win the race, and I think that's, you know, what we're trying to always do. So, yeah, not trying to overcomplicate it and sail well.
And Pete, what is sort of the key that, to get those foiling manoeuvres done? It looks like high pressure.
I think a lot of it's just being in the breeze. You know, it's so much easier to accelerate. You have to turn through so much less angle when you're in the puff. So, yeah, if you pick a good spot and you're in phase in the breeze, it makes your life so easy and makes you look pretty good. So we're trying to do that next race for sure.
Well, thank you both. I'll let you debrief and get into the next one.
Cool, thank you.
Kiwi strategist Liv Mackay, driver Peter Burling, as they get them set ready for race number 4. Stevie, during practice though, the Kiwis a little bit up and down.
Yeah, there's been some big moments here. We see a few roles swapping around, and Marcus Hansen, he's running across the back of the boat now. He's normally a grinder, but he's swapped out with Liv Mackay's at the back of the boat and got to feel the G-force at the back. Oh, just got flung off the boat there, and just shows the loads on it. Big moment. Well, yeah, he's known as Mad Dog, Marcus Hansen at the back there, and he was probably really enjoying that, but everyone's safe. And it just shows the G-force is back there, and if you change position on the boat, it kind of just shows how things can change very quickly.
Course for race 4 is 5MS. The axis is now 205. Length is now 0.65 nautical miles. Good luck.
Malloy Roberts, once again, race management, giving out the important information as the teams all make their way to the start box. 10 international teams, under 1:45 to go, and this is a big moment, Stevie and Emily. There's a couple teams out there that definitely have to finish in the top 2, and I think Switzerland is definitely on that list. Winners of race number 2, they fared poorly in race number 3, finishing in 8th.
Well, they do, and I think, you know, we see it's a pretty experienced crew. I think they've had a change for this event with Francois Morvan. Of course, he was with the French last season. And yeah, it's all about executing now. There's plenty of experience on that boat, but for Nathan and for Laurent, it's head out the boat, find that breeze, find some space, and you've got to just try and hit the start line fast. We're hearing that the tech issues have been cleared up. Thankfully, our tech team's a bit better than me. I think I'd have just had Control Alt Delete as my one option for the fix, but seem to have the boats going well, and let's hope things work out.
So less than a minute to go. Emily, final thoughts. Where do you want to be on this start line?
I think, as we saw with the French, that top end of the line paid well, but only if you hit the line with speed. Right now, it's not looking prime for the US team, still off the foils.
Here we go, 41 seconds to go, and now we can see the fleet lining up out the back. Rockwool, Denmark, they're trying to find space, they're nearly foiling. New Zealand are controlling things. They want that inside position, the downwind end of the line, to try and hope that they can be on the inside at Mark 1. Switzerland, here comes Nathan Alderidge, he's winding it up from range. Tight battle with France, he's clear ahead at the moment. Looks like he's going to have the proper positioning here. It's all about timing though here. Who's got it right? New Zealand still off the foils at the bottom. Switzerland, too early. Nathan worried about being locked out. It's going to be Australia in the middle of the line, USA in the middle of the line. Pole Predictor sits on Canada. All about timing. De La Pierre with 4 seconds to go. Threads the needle one more time. Oh, the French are fast at the gun as well. I love the positioning. De La Pierre, oh, he's absolutely nailing it today. Finding a way to weave through the crowd, and as they all race away from Lady Liberty, it's going to be a sprint to Mark 1, but France look good.
Great start for Taylor Canfield and the Americans.
Canada are getting high, Todd.
Little loose, they got to back it down.
Oh, just avoid being last, that's what they said.
Here we go, mark number 1. It is the French controlling it the whole shot. They get in the circle first. Then it is Australia, New Zealand, and the Danes.
Oh, it's almost a repeat of the first race. New Zealand are going to be the first to manoeuvre away, hoping to follow the French, but Canada, they put themselves in the pack at the back there. They flew too high, got too aggressive,
Denmark
and Canada have got a lot of work to do here.
Denmark was in a top 5 position, and they came off the foils, and now they sit in dead last. The Americans picking up a penalty as they go out of bounds.
Oh, it's so many little mistakes happening. It's really tight after Mark 1. It's great for the fans on Governor's Island there, but the mistakes come fast and furious. And Australia showing a second at the moment. If Slingsby ever needed a race out of the hat, this is it. But they're well positioned on board that green Australian boat now. France, they manoeuvre. They're struggling to stay on the foils.
Critical moment for the French team. Still down at 27 kilometers an hour. That's not enough to get foiling. They are going to lose that position to the Brits next.
The magic number to look for is 30 kilometers an hour. We see it turn green on the top of the wing there, and that suggests they'll make it, but it's the two old dogs at the front of the fleet. Slingsby, he needs a result. He's getting a result right now, but it's still a race to the final. Canada in there, 6th at the moment. I think that'll be enough for them to hold to a spot in the final.
Yeah, my rake. Here we've got a H1 tack here. Yep.
At the moment, it is just enough to keep Canada at the top of that leaderboard. 31 points. Kiwis and Great Britain tied on 30, and Australia, it's then the big gap, 25 points.
And we've talked about this before, Emily. You can have one bad race in the 5 normal fleet races, but Australia, they finished 3rd in race number 1, they finished 6th in race number 2, and 9th in race number 3.
Yeah, right now, if the Aussies have any chance of making the final, they need the Brits to have a bad one.
Okay. Right now, the Brits are holding down 5th.
Here we go, we're on board Canada along this first leg. So here, Billy Gooderham just pushing that ride height really high, and it gets so loose as they get too high on the foil here.
And as they get out of control, they're almost taking the US team out. Look how close those two boats get. You can see them just on the left of the screen.
You know how close friends they are.
Well, yeah, that was certainly a big moment there for Canada, but they kept themselves in the race. Great Britain snuck around there. Giles Scott again. Here are the French. Now, how well do they manage to execute this manoeuvre? They get it high again, and the rudders, they just get a bit too slow. No lift on the rudders, and they fall off the foils in the manoeuvre. It's so hard manoeuvring accurately out here in these gusty, changeable conditions. But Australia, big lead at the moment, and for New Zealand, it's all about making the final. It's all about momentum. And at the moment, it looks good for the New Zealand crew to make that final.
We don't want to be too...
Yeah, as you can see on the top left there, Canada, New Zealand through to the final, GBR through to the final as well, just fighting off the Aussies.
Just go right turn, eh?
It's interesting how a lot of the crews are choosing to come offshore. They're probably a little bit slightly beneficial current here helping them upwind, and the breeze is definitely good offshore. And as soon as you do get away and open out in the race, Todd, if you are in those front through places, what you want to do is control the environment you're in, which is put yourself in more wind if possible.
Right now it's showing 13.8 kilometers across the course. Lisa Darmanin, are you seeing any areas down there where there'd be more advantageous pressure here on leg 3 of 7?
Angle. A little earlier inverts there.
Certainly at the moment looks like a big gain to New Zealand by going that little bit further offshore over the Australians. Looks like New Zealand are well set. Australia will dip behind and will split the course. So Australia should be sailing back to where the New Zealand crew made a gain. So this should be good news for the Australians. Potential advantage, but it's a dynamic, changeable environment at the moment. Nothing highlights that more than seeing the British back to 5th place now, and they'll just be clinging to that place in the final.
So at gate 3 is the Aussies and the Kiwis going at it yet again. That's 1st and 3rd in the overall standings as they continue to try to climb and add points to their account. Get ready for the grand showdown coming up in July 13th and 14th in San Francisco.
Tom, think about the race for the grand final. When I look at the results on the left there, Denmark in 10th, they so need big points here. France are giving themselves a chance, but Australia, they might not be in the final, but they were showing as being 4th overall, which when you think about the season as a whole, that's going to be a good result to come away from New York with.
As it stands right now, it would be Canada, it would be Great Britain, and it would be New Zealand in the final today.
There you go, it worked out well for Australia there, Emily.
And USA might not come 10th.
They're up to 9th at the minute, that is for sure. But
Way to go, glass half full. Way to go, glass half full, Em.
It's been a good gain, though, coming offshore. So now it's New Zealand heading back to the advantageous side of the course. So it'll be interesting here. There's going to be advantage New Zealand when the two boats meet again. They'll have the right of way, and it's a real tussle between these two titans.
And the wind has come up now to 15.2 kilometers an hour as they make their way down to gate number 4. Lisa Darman, if you can hear us, are you seeing any other pressure, any other areas on the course that are more advantageous?
There'll be 2 dragons, Phil. Yep.
Well, it definitely looks like there's more pressure over towards Lady Liberty, which is where we're seeing the gains. Also good shifts, which means there is a little bit of opportunity to sail less distance. The tide is starting to rip out of the Hudson, so that's also playing with the game a little bit. One thing that's really interesting is we have had a few teams really fall off the foils dramatically, so a little bit of messy chop out here, I think, messing everybody about.
Good to know. So they make their way through gate number 4. They'll head back down, and then it's up one more time, and then the right-hand turn to the finish line. And now the fleet in full pursuit of Slingsby and Burling. You've got France, you've got Canada, and you've got Emirates GBR.
Yeah, and you can see these blue marks on our screen running up. That's the direction of flow of the current. So it means making it down to this gate 4 is tricky to judge. You don't want to cut it too fine, otherwise the treadmill's going against you and it's stopping you get round that mark. So it's a really tight moment at the bottom of the course. When you're round there, breathe a sigh of release as the treadmill's taking you up towards the next gate.
Yeah, and when we looked at the tidal models for today, we could see that there was more flow along that shore. So that suggests why these teams are all trying to get close into Governor's Island, even though we know there is a little bit less wind there.
It's just a minor miracle that they were able to clear the traffic. This is one of the busiest areas around with ferries and weekend folks on their boats and obviously international transport coming in and out of here, and now the 10 best sailors on these fully F-50s have taken control of New York Harbor. And right now it's Australia, New Zealand, France, Canada, and GBR. That's 5 boats battling for 3 positions in the event final.
I think we've just got to do what we're doing. Copy.
It's Australia, that's exactly right. He's just got to do what he's doing. He's got to control what he's controlling. He can't affect any of the other boats from there. He needs to take a win and hope for a mistake from the British crew at this stage.
We will make a ley line.
As I see, in the race for the grand final, which is where Tom Slingsby needs his head to be, and we're on board our 5G, T-Mobile 5G POV camera there. And what I love here is look in the back left-hand corner, those rudders, how high they're out of the water. The white lines are effectively a warning sign for Jason Waterhouse. He's not too worried about it. You can see the flex on the rudder. They're pushing the ride height, how high they're flying the boat. So high.
Unfortunately for the Australian team, in order for them to make it through to the final, the Great Britain team would have to come 9th.
Right now they are sitting in 5th place and holding steady. The interesting thing though is you do a little bit of math. If France does make it into the final, which is not really a possibility right now, Australia would just lose the max of 3 points. They would still stay in 3rd place overall going to San Francisco. So right now they're in good shape.
We don't need to do anything special to make the final here, correct? Yeah, copy.
That'll be a little check from Giles Scott back to his coach on the shore. He's got Rob Wilson. He's got the same spreadsheet as Emily's using to keep us up to speed here. And Rob will be reassuring Giles that no, he doesn't need to do anything too special, as we see bottom left corner comfortably in at the moment. So barring disasters, that will be our top 3 going into the final. So some relief for Canadian fans that have seen finals snatched away from them in the previous 2 events.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that race number 3 that's going to do the Aussies in, where they finished in 9th place, having those technical issues on board, no fault of their own, but that's just the way racing is on these really high-tech foiling F50s.
As I say though, the 4th place there, and I do not see the words France or Spain above them on the points.
What's important.
So that means they gain points in that battle for the top 3 positions. Everyone they needed to beat is behind them. So if you're pragmatic, right, which I know their coach Ben Durham is very pragmatic, he's going to come on and say, you know, it's not as bad as it looks, it's not as good as it looks. We're still in the final in San Fran.
But you've got to feel a bit gutted, Stevie, if you are France and if you are Spain and if you are Denmark, because this was your opportunity to pounce on the Aussies.
Yeah, I mean, I just see the middle of the screen there, Nikolai Sehested on board Denmark. I mean, they must be absolutely distraught on that Danish boat, because this last half of the season, what looked like such a solid performance, they just haven't managed to find that consistency again.
And this will make it virtually impossible for the Danish to make that final in San Francisco. Now, the Spanish are would still qualify for the final currently, but that gap between the boats behind is a lot smaller.
As they come towards the finish line, it is Australia and Tom Slingsby that get the win in race number 4 here in New York City. Peter Burling close behind will finish in 2nd, and the France Quentin Delapierre will get 3rd, but it will not be enough to push them into the event final.
There we go, it's tight back in the pack. Phil Robertson's made it a little bit more interesting, sailed a bit wide on that downwind leg, but he's still going to comfortably come round here in 4th. And Nathan Outridge on board the Swiss boat. It's just not quite clicked for them today. They came in a top 3 position after 2 races. It's going to be a decent event for the Swiss, but still no race in a final, which is very, very disappointing for them.
Well, Phil Robertson has certainly answered the critics, those who said maybe he can't close the deal, and they have done just that today, did just enough. They finished 4th in race number 4 after a win in race number 3, so Canada will be moving on to the event final after a tremendous performance on day number 1, where they finished 2nd and 4th.
Some view of the crowds, it's a huge stadium site they've got there on Governor's Island. Some view, and it's going to be a brilliant final with this breeze we've got happening here as we see the United States, right-hand side of the screen, up and foiling. Nice manoeuvre for them. They're going to bring it home, but the Spanish in 7th still was going to be probably okay in their chase to the final in San Fran.
And the question is Nikolai Sehested going to reel in the Americans? He comes around that last gate with a lot of speed, and now the race is on. Who's going to finish in dead last? And it does not look like it'll be the Stars and Stripes here in race number 4. Taylor Canfield and the Americans will hold on with speed as they come across the line in front of their fans on Governor's Island. The Americans will finish in 9th, with the Danes finishing in 10th.
Stay tuned in, guys.
Finish there. It's a disappointment for Rockwool Denmark, though. That's a huge day for them. They're going to take some serious regrouping after that, because they've just looked so strong all season.
I'll be a vote, guys.
Well, not quite the performance the Americans wanted here on home waters, but they'll have another opportunity in just about 3 weeks' time out in San Francisco to put on a show. They have no opportunity of making it into the grand final, but they certainly can go out with a big bang in San Francisco Bay. What a day of racing. 2 races down and 1 event final yet to go with 3 top performing boats.
And a little more excitement in this start. We had France and Spain, Switzerland coming in hot at the top of the screen. France once again tried to thread the needle. Unfortunately for the USA, while they had prime position on the line, they just weren't up to speed. So they were the closest to the line, but just not fast enough to hold on. And ultimately, the France repeated their performance from race 1, making it to Mark 1 first.
Well, and we saw that Canada told us in the pre-race, let's just avoid being last. And well, they pushed so hard along that top leg after a good start. Nearly came off the foils, put themselves back in the pack, but they are going fast on board that Canadian boat. They're making gains. Mistakes are happening all around the fleet. The French had one in the middle of the race here. cost them some places, but again, it probably wasn't the difference maker for a final performance. It was Australia saved their event. They're up to 4th overall, but unfortunately they do just miss out on the final, and it's New Zealand and Burling, Great Britain and Canada that are going to be in the final. So it's going to be some race to see who can take the win here in the Big Apple.
So after all the fleet races are complete, it is Canada, New Zealand, and Emirates GBR, the top 3 teams with 33, 30, and 29 points respectively. Australia just missing out by 4 points. France in 5th, Switzerland in 6th, and then you drop down to Spain, Rockwell, Denmark, Germany, and the USA. So in unfamiliar waters are the Australians. We go now on board with their driver, Tom Slingsby. Tom, you guys had some technical issues on board that really kind of did you guys in on race number 3. But take us through your whole experience this weekend in New York with the changing conditions and the tide and everything that went into it. And now you turn your attention to San Francisco.
Yeah, it's a tough weekend again. Look, we're happy to finish on a high. First race was very frustrating. We had a few issues, and team sailed well. My hands up for that first one, and we've got a few issues going on.
Tom, I think in the grand scheme of things, obviously you're taking a few punches at the moment, but the big picture's about San Francisco, and ultimately this has been a really good weekend for you as a team in the grand season point of view.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, we're here to win events. I understand the grand final is important, but we're trying to get our technical issues and our boat sorted, and so we can gain some confidence heading into San Fran. And it's been sort of 5 events in a row now where we've had a few issues hampering us, and we fix one, we get another. So I was hoping that we would have all that sorted by now, but we've got to just go into San Fran and hope for the best.
Tom, we appreciate the time, and we wish you the best of luck going forward. San Francisco's been pretty good to you in the past, so we wish you and the team the very best. Safe travels. So a bit of a surprise that Australia will not be in the event final, as once again Canada shows their class. They are in. Emirates GBR, they are in. And the Kiwis will also be in the big dance as the battle continues on. The grand event final when we return to the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
Mubadala and SailGP, making waves together.
SailGP's documentary series Racing on the Edge takes us back to the press conference in Bermuda, and rumors were running high on who will stay in the series next season.
Are you confident your team will continue to be on the start line?
We have a group of investors willing to join the team and to go forward with us. The team is also working very hard on achieving this financial power, no?
Despite their financial uncertainty, the Spanish did not let that affect their performance out on the water.
You can go. 3, 2, 1, 1, more down.
The French are coming fast into the inside of Spain. The Spanish have to give them room or they're going to crash. This is disaster for Spain. Another penalty.
No, penalty.
Big press, please.
Maybe if Rockwell beats Canada, we might be okay here.
Oh, Canada are going to finish the final fleet race last. This puts Spain in the final. The Spanish, what a move!
Spain and New Zealand split at the bottom mark. 2 teams in need of investors. The fight is on.
2, 1, whenever you say, Carmelita.
We know that if we pull off a perfect race, we can be in front of them.
Spain all dressed up and looking for suitors. What a way to put this on your CV.
I have been working with a group of investors trying to build a consortium to do this. And then we have these other guy that I don't think they need any presentation to you.
Let me see. Yeah, I recognise that name.
Yeah.
Mubadala and SailGP making waves together.
Waves crash underneath, sound like thunder speaking. Flying carbon machines, driven by the world's best. Yes, powered by nature, powered by nature. We are SailGP.
SailGP Technologies is charged with building and maintaining the F-50 fleet. And there's been a big change to their operations as they relocate to Southampton, UK from their prior base in New Zealand. Southampton, a city long associated with world-class sailing.
We've changed the location of the facility. Geographically, New Zealand had its constraints. It was very expensive to send parts around the world. So if you look at the tour and the event, being 70–75% Northern Hemisphere based events, we were having damages, we were spending a lot of money to air freight parts around the world. It didn't become sustainable to be based in the Southern Hemisphere. So in the future, we aim to be able to produce every aspect of the boat, from the manifolds down to the electrical components, down to the composites, full fit out from under this roof. Ahead of season 5, I think the primary focus is to get a handle on spare parts for the tour while delivering boat 11 and wing 11.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to New York City.
We're delighted to announce the formation of SailGP's first ever South American team. Thank you.
Sailing is the most successful sport in Brazil, having won 19 medals so far.
That's fantastic. You know, I think as a league, it's an awesome place to be. You got new teams and a lot of interest from a lot of countries. So to have Brazil on the start line is very special. So welcome.
Having a Brazilian team with, as the first South American team in the league is fantastic, but we can only complete 11 boats for the start of season 5, which creates a problem because we've got 12 teams wanting to start. So one of them won't be able to start season 5. We haven't determined which one of the teams it'll be yet, but it will be from those teams that are still partially funded by the league. It'll be one of those teams. So that's Canada, France, Spain, or New Zealand.
So we are under 7:40 to go until the event final takes place here in New York Harbor. This is the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, Lisa Darman, and Todd Harris with you as we get ready for the big final to see who will take home the 10 points. As we take a look at the 3 teams involved, of course, Canada's there, New Zealand's there, and Emirates GBR. Can the Brits make it 2 wins in a row, coming off that big win in Halifax in Nova Scotia? Beautiful sailing conditions with Lady Liberty in the foreground, and we're about to find out who's going to rule New York City. So a beautiful day here as Lady Liberty oversees the course here in the harbor, and we will see which teams play out. It's Canada, it's Emirates GBR, and it is New Zealand. Who's going to pull the trigger first and get the victory? Well, let's go down on the water, and we'll check in first with Emirates GBR, Giles Scott, and Hannah Mills. And guys, welcome back to the final. You're making a habit of this, coming off the big performance in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Giles and Hannah, how good are you guys feeling about these conditions and the way your team's performing?
Yeah, pretty good. Nice and chilled at the moment. Looking forward to this one. Yeah, nice to be in another final. We'll have a look and see what we can do with it.
Hannah, at the last event you had to advise Giles that there were now only going to be 3 boats, so he should be clear on that after the last event. What's your next advice to him ahead of this final?
Yeah, same again really. Get off the start, lead to Mark 1, cover to the finish.
It certainly looks like a trickier day out there, Giles. Is it going to be as simple as that?
Yeah, it is tricky. Super marginal foiling. The foiling manoeuvres are pretty tricky with this little bit of bump that the tide's created. But the wind's come up a little bit here for this last one. So, yeah, I think it should be a good one, and we'll come out swinging for you.
Giles and Hannah, wish you the best of luck. Emirates GBR into the final for the second event in a row, and they will be facing off with a very tough squad with New Zealand and Canada. The Kiwis, they're used to being in this final, so we go down on the water. And Pete Burling and company, as they get themselves into position, the black foil's looking very good, coming on strong as of late. Pete, you guys started off with a 5th in race number 1. You bounced back nicely with a 3rd in race number 2, and here you are in the final once again. What's going to be the key for you guys to getting another win?
Yeah, well, definitely get off the start. It's going to be super key. We're actually trying to do a practice run right now, so a bit of an inconvenient time, but yeah, also be back in the finals and looking forward to getting out of the practice before San Fran.
And Blair, setup-wise, is it a hard day out there today?
It's pretty good. Beauty day here. I think our screen stopped there. Hey Finn, can you reset our start
Sounds
screen?
like maybe a slightly inconvenient time for us to go on board there. A little practice start. We can see it's crucial. They try and hit as many practice starts as they can get in. I mean, Blair's saying it's great conditions out there, which is good to hear. And hitting this start line absolutely on the money is absolutely key. So we see there New Zealand on the screen. They're doing a time run, and what this one does, gives them a chance to look at their time and distance. How's the numbers matching up on the screen? What does it feel? What time before the Kun goes to 0 do we need to wind it up to full speed?
Coming up on 4 minutes to go before the event final here in New York City. Beautiful shot of Manhattan as the 3 teams in the event final get themselves into position. The top team after 4 racing, it is Phil Robertson and the Canadians, but that gets you nowhere. The points are wiped clear. Moments ago, Lisa Darmanin with the Canadians out on the water.
Phil, well, congratulations making a final. It looks pretty tough out here, though. Any new tactics for a 3-boat final?
Yeah, it's nice little racetrack. There's plenty of current, which is making it difficult, but yeah, I'm not sure really what to expect here. Try and get off the start line. We haven't done that very well today, so it's a different style of starting with 3 boats as opposed to 10, so trying to figure out that in the next few minutes is going to be key.
Well, coming off the back of a disappointing not making the final in Canada, but does it feel a little bit sweeter on US waters?
Yeah, it's definitely nice to do it behind enemy lines, but yeah, look, it's been a long time coming. I think we've sort of messed up quite a few events in the last race, and nice to get that one under our belts, and yeah, now it's time for the final, and winner takes all.
Well, I know you probably don't look too far ahead, but what would it mean to win this?
Yeah, it'd be obviously very nice to win it. Of course, you're always trying to win events. We're competitive people, so winning is what we like to do, and yeah, we'll be gunning for it and pushing the boat pretty hard this race.
I better let you get to it. Thanks, Phil.
Nice, well, hopefully get the chocolates. Thank you.
Phil Robertson, the gift that keeps on giving. And Stevie, this would be a very opportune time for the Canadians to get their first win of the season, and they are also looking for financial investors.
Well, yeah, I mean, Russell, you know, we heard him saying there's not enough boats for all the teams that want to race next year, so pressure is on these teams. New Zealand and Canada are, in fact, amongst that list of names that Russell said. So, you know, we'd like to see them, of course, on the start line next year, racing a lineup like that. I mean, look at that. They won last time. It was a long time between meals for that British team. But Ian Jensen, Luke Parkinson, they've been there, done it in New York. They were aboard the Japanese boat that won here in season 1. So they'll be looking for a repeat on things out there. And well, we all know how much talent there is on that boat. They made it happen in Halifax. Can they make it happen again?
Emirates GBR with 3 wins this year. Of course, they won in Saint-Tropez. They won in Taranto, Italy. And, of course, as Stevie mentioned, in Halifax at the last event. Canada without a win this season. But the Kiwis, they continue to win. Remember the calm wins in Chicago at event number 1. They won there. They won in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and, of course, winning their home event in Christchurch.
You see that right-hand side of this, the name's there, Marcus Hansen. That was the man we saw falling off the boat earlier on. He seems to have recovered back in his normal position, but I think for Andy Maloney, the flight controller, it's a tricky day. That chop on the water's definitely making how high you fly the boat be hard to judge, and as you change through the tide lines, that'll be having an effect. We can see this tide line right down the middle of our course here, slight difference in colour, slight white line, and either side of that there's advantage to be found. Phil Robertson, well, he said he's behind enemy lines, but he seems to know as this way around.
Bill Robertson on his third team in his foray here in SailGP, was with China, was with Spain, and here he is. He's found a home in Canada. Emily, it's a pretty strong team these got put together with Annie Hager and CJ.
Yeah, it's a really solid team, and we have seen them make multiple finals this season, but every single time they come third.
Here we are, 40 seconds to go, Todd, until the finals start. The blue marks on the screen moving from top of our screen to the bottom. That's the current on the water. That's the treadmill that's lifting the boats all up this way. Giles Scott on Great Britain. He'll like the space he has right now, but all the boats are well spread out. I think I'd rather be starting at the top end of the line on our screen. It's the more downwind end, but it's near the top of our screen. Canada and Great Britain, they're in a fight. It's all about winding it up now. Pole Predictor has the Canadians in the optimum position at the minute, but Giles Scott shuts the door. Here we go. 10 seconds to go. New Zealand show us the favourites. Can they execute from here? It's all about timing now. Line's going to turn white. How's your timing, Phil Robertson? Beautiful from the Canadians, but they put the bow in. How costly will that slowdown be? On the inside, it's New Zealand. Tactically, they have the right of way, but Canada and Great Britain, can they wind it up? Can they get enough speed to roll over? I think New Zealand are going to lead at Mark 1.
As they approach mark number 1, they go 3 wide here in the event final at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. It's New Zealand, it's Canada, and it's Emirates GBR.
Oh, look at that. New Zealand had the right of way, and they forced the Canadians and the British high and wide here. New Zealand are going to be comfortably in the lead. First manoeuvre for Canada. Can New Zealand stick this manoeuvre? Pressure on. Great move by Canada. New Zealand match perfectly executed, and right now, big advantage to New Zealand. They hold the trump card.
Advantage to New Zealand, but the Canadians are the fastest boat on the course.
It's a left in our favour, Josh. Even, you said.
There we go. He's talking there. That's Peter Burling talking to Josh Jr. on the shore. They're talking about where the wind is at the moment. What direction is it? Slight disagreement on board there, but right now I think the priority's matching Canada. If New Zealand can exit the same mark as Canada, which is going to be a right turn for all the boats, I would suggest, then New Zealand will have a big controlling advantage. Turn. New Zealand are going to be faster coming in here.
Will the course?
Well, I think Great Britain definitely splits the course from here. Canada have got a harder decision to make. An extra manoeuvre could be costly at this stage. Time to roll the dice for Great Britain, but New Zealand, keep it tight, hang around, see if the Kiwis make a mistake.
The Brits have to make one more manoeuvre, so they decide to split the course, but Stevie, it's going to cost them a lot of time and distance because they were late to make that decision. Waiting to see what Burling and Robertson are going to do.
Yeah, well, they were out the back, and if you follow in third, that's a lot of disturbed wind. We can see now Canada, they're right dropping down into the disturbed air of New Zealand. New Zealand will look to turn with the Canadians here. They'll all head back towards the side of the course where Giles Scott's British team are. And now the British need a little bit of luck. They need there to be a bit more breeze there. Is it luck or is it skill though?
And there we go. At the moment, we have a little bit more breeze with the Kiwis at the top of the screen, but only marginally so. The big question is going to be, what is the tide doing at the moment? We've heard that is currently ripping out of the Hudson River. The models had it better Governor's Island side, but that does change.
Ripping out the river, so that means it's moving from left to right on our screen. It's helping them up the course. It's giving them a little free ride up there. What that also does is it increases the wind speed relatively felt by the boats, and more wind is, of course, good news. So more current, if it's helping you up there, is going to be good news. So still Great Britain are out of phase. They're in the race, Todd, but New Zealand are going to be keeping a tight eye on Canada. They'll look to manoeuvre directly in front of them next time.
All three boats within 100 meters of each other as we go down on the water. Lisa Darman, and where's the pressure coming from? Where do you want to put your boat?
I really think a right turn at the next gate is going to be strong. I think there's a little bit more pressure out of there, and then you're not fighting the current as much if Emily's models are correct. But you know, New Zealand, they obviously they're doing better maneuvers than everybody else, and I think they're just getting a little bit of a jump. And even in the fleet racing, I thought they're upwind mode, so what they're doing now, it looks really slick. They're sailing higher angles than anyone else.
Well, and they just set it up so well. We're on board here, T-Mobile 5G POV camera, and they're pushing it high on the ride height. That rudder in the back right-hand corner, you can see it shaking around. It's right on the rev limiter there. But I think what they've done well is they put a careful move in above the Canadians on the first turn out of gate 2, and they set it up to just land right in front of them and totally block the wind onto Canada the whole way across here. So it's a big gain for New Zealand, total control. Canada are going to have to turn right at the top. Does the New Zealand boat set up to turn to the right? I think they might go left turn, an early manoeuvre on board New Zealand.
The Kiwis with Blair Tuke and Peter Burling directing the black foils around. They make the turn, and it is a left for them as Canada and Emirates GBR still not quite there yet. And this is dangerous times for the rest of the competition because if Pete Burling finds open space and good wind, Stevie, he will check out and be gone.
Without being too putting the kiss of death on him, this race is done, barring a mistake from the New Zealand boat. Now they've got a big enough lead that they can easily cover off any move by the boats behind. It's just about executing manoeuvres, so it's really a race for second here. Canada have sailed a lot of extra distance to take that right turn. That's advantage Great Britain now. New Zealand, well, it's just a bit of a masterclass for the black foils at the moment.
Right now, priority for the Canadians is holding on to that second place. We've seen them too many times hand it up, get a third. And right now, there is that really tight battle in the middle of the fleet on that overall scoreboard. And if you look at that scoreboard, currently they're at the bottom of the rankings of those 4 teams at risk of losing their spot next season.
Canada has been into the event final 3 times this year and yet to close the deal. Right now, master class is being applied to the rest of the field as Peter Burling and the Kiwis, the black foils, Stevie, they get away from everyone. It's almost like they have agoraphobia. They don't want to be around people. Stay away from us, and they just do their own thing.
Well, they're just quite fast, aren't they? I mean, you know, the criticism I've always had for them is that they're not been very good at the starting in the fleet racing, and they've made it hard for themselves. But in the 3 boats, Pete's been on fire and a brilliant start. Don't underestimate how well he nailed that start. In total control, they've been able to dominate.
And the numbers are showing exactly that at the moment. They're 1.5 k/h average, faster speed than the other 2 boats. They've also sailed less distance.
So the wind remaining consistent throughout the day here on the second day of racing at Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix in New York Harbor. New Zealand, Canada, and GBR in the event final. On board underneath Emirates GBR with the T-Mobile 5G cabin. Right now, this is not the view that Giles Scott and Hannah Mills were looking for. Winners of the last event in Halifax. They are losing distance quickly to the front runners, the Kiwis and the Canadians.
Yeah, I mean, they were forced their hand at gate 2. I think it was fair enough to roll the dice at that stage. It was always going to be pretty hard once you're out the back. And we can see it's a slight case of, you know, the boat ahead's just got that advantageous position. New Zealand, they've managed to push well in. They don't want to get too close to that short line in case there's a bit less breeze. But I think Lisa's saying that there wasn't too bad. The wind seems relatively even on the course now, Lisa.
Fine around there somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely even across the racetrack, and because the foiling manoeuvres are a little bit easier because the breeze has just picked up in general, it means the differential isn't as bad. Everyone seems to be sticking these manoeuvres, but you know, these storms are brewing, so we're really lucky that we got racing in today, and New Zealand's just looking just way slicker than everyone else.
That's the word of the day, slick, as Peter Burling and team just go about their business. There you see the ripples on the water, Stevie. They just seem to be like a magnet attracted to that. They find the pressure and then they accelerate. We've seen them come out of starts in 7th, 8th place, and they end up, well, you know, top 3.
Well, they're just saying, well, I mean, I think while we're watching this, you see how accurately the boat is. The boat's tipped way towards the crew there. They're gaining maximum righting moment off that boat, maximum leverage on the foils. And I just think, have a minute to look at this. We're racing these F50s in front of the Statue of Liberty, Manhattan in the background. It's unbelievable, the scenes out here. And I think it's a performance fitting of the scene that it's happening in front of on board the New Zealand boat at the moment. Andy Maloney, across he goes. He's going to be happy out there. They're well lined up for that gate. We can see the 2 marks in front. Probably only 2 more good manoeuvres for the New Zealand crew stand between them and the big prize in the Big Apple.
As they approach gate number 5, it is Pistol Pete and the Kiwis as they will make the long ride back up the course, and then it's a quick right-hand turn in front of Governor's Island and the Adrenaline Lounge. Just look how quickly and how smooth they make the transitions.
That's too much drop. Yeah. Copy.
Oh, it's like it's on rails.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
But I think as soon as they're out in front like that as well, it's just the time to have the calm temper. Their comms on board are always very impressive. But we saw in a race yesterday when they were in a tight tussle with the Swiss, they pulled off a manoeuvre where it all looked a bit rushed and they paid the price. Now the Canadians here, they're going to be happy with this second place. They've sailed well in this race, but to be honest, when you're up against the best, you can sail well, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's good enough.
Angle.
See the G-forces, how tough it is to make that transition on a turn. Phil Robertson comes over, takes the wheel.
It's the grinders at the front of the boat that have to run across when the whole boat's turning. I think the fact they hang on is absolutely unbelievable. Final manoeuvre for the New Zealand crew here. Should be bread and butter for them in front of the fans to bring it home.
Mark number 6, and it is the Kiwis, the black foils, that'll bring it home and claim yet another victory here in season number 4, and they have punched their ticket into the grand final. Regardless of what happens in the racing in the Pacific Ocean in a few weeks' time, the Kiwis will have an opportunity to fight for the title. That is an amazing performance. That's 5 wins out of 12 events. The Kiwis take the win in New York City.
And that will put them in with 93 points going into this final.
Amazing performance. They came in with an 11-point lead over Spain. They increased that. Great showing by Phil Robertson and the Canadians. As they get into the event final, they will finish in 2nd, and they will take home 9 event points, season points. Emirates GBR will finish in 3rd. So back-to-back finals for the Brits as they win in Halifax and finish 3rd in New York City.
It's good consistency for the Emirates Great Britain team. I think they're going to be pretty happy out there. I think all the teams are going to be happy. For me, when we look ahead to San Francisco, the timing of Peter Burling on that start absolutely nailed it.
Going up, not down.
And the Kiwis now take a slow parade along the Adrenaline Lounge and the fans on Governor's Island with Manhattan behind them. New Zealand conquers New York City. What a performance across the board. Stevie, you know, you talked about this. New Zealand continue to put distance. Emily talked about the lead they'll have heading to San Francisco. Great showing for Canada. They, you know, a lot of pressure on them to find investors. This is a great way to do it. Emirates GBR, they've shown that they are back in form. But you think about it, this could not have worked out better for Australia. They didn't make the final, but France, Denmark, and Spain also did not make it.
Ben Durham said yesterday, it's never as bad as it looks, it's never as good as it looks. And the Australians need to take the positives out of this. But one team that really will be finding some positives is positives in consistency, and that's Emirates Great Britain.
Let's go on board with Emirates Great Britain, Giles Scott, Hannah Mills, and crew. Giles, we'll start with you. Where was that race won or lost? Was it at gate number 2 when you guys decided to roll the dice and split the course?
Yeah, I mean, we never really had it from the start. We had, I think they should get me anyway.
Yeah, we got you, good.
They'll get me.
Yeah, you on?
Yeah, we from the start really just didn't quite have enough there to roll over the top, and then they decided to jibe early, as did we. So yeah, we didn't really have a lot to do from there, and not many passing lanes out there. So yeah, frustrating end to what was a good weekend for us.
Hannah, Joel talks of a frustrating end, but really this turn of consistency for you, it must be a very, very positive outcome, really. I mean, amazing to sail here in front of this Manhattan skyline. For us to watch, it's been incredible, but for you, what does it mean to sail basically in one of the biggest, bestest cities in the world?
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable sailing here in New York and just looking behind us and seeing Manhattan and got the Statue of Liberty over there. Honestly, it's just unbelievable. And for us, you know, off the back of Halifax, where we had a great performance and a win, to get into another final, I think is really promising for the rest of the season and hopefully next season.
So, Giles, the question is, how quickly will you start breaking down San Francisco, and how different is San Francisco compared to what you raced here in New York City?
Yeah, we'll have a good look at that for sure from next week, really. I think tide-wise, it's interesting. Been racing here in the current, which we'll see a lot in San Fran. Obviously, expecting it to be a step cooler and probably a step breezier as well. But yeah, it's certainly a lot to look at there, and hopefully, you know, we can put another solid performance in and cap the season off with a win out there.
Giles,
so, yeah,
appreciate the time,
yeah,
Hannah. Thanks.
Good event here.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate your time. Safe travels. We'll see you out in San Francisco. It's Emirates GBR coming off their win in Halifax. They back up with a 3rd place performance here at the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix. So Emirates GBR finishes in 3rd overall. Canada coming off a disappointing performance that they had in their home event in Halifax, Nova Scotia just a short time ago. They bounced back nicely, get into the final. Maybe the hottest team coming in to this event final, but just was not meant to be as we go on board now with Phil Robertson and crew. Phil, you guys put on a great show, some amazing sailing out there. In the end, what was the difference today, finishing first or second?
I meant to come to us for an interview, so we'll get the gear on and just stand by. Awesome, bro.
Hey, we're going to Phil Robertson now. Phil, congratulations. You guys make it into the event final. You finished in second place. What was the difference between first and second today? You guys were so close, but New Zealand just seemed to have that start wired.
Yeah, we're sailing well, and I was probably a little bit out of character, but I chose not to attack in the start, which is probably just a mistake, and it was very clear that you had to win the pin in the end, probably with the current pushing up, and we gave it a good old crack, but yeah, it's pretty hard to pass out there with a bit of a one-way racetrack.
Phil, I think, it was interesting to watch that start, but you came across the line, you had really good space, and then the bow just touched in the water. The boat heeled on top of you a little bit too much. Is it as small a detail as that, or is it something, like you say, it was purely a positioning thing?
Yeah, based on our position, we really tried to push the sort of ride height, and we actually washed out a rudder, so we're pushing Mach 10 to try and get over the Kiwis. We knew we'd have one shot at it, and yeah, we didn't quite nail it, so it's just part of the package, and yeah, second, better than third.
It's a lot better than third. It's a lot better. CJ, it must be pretty nice to make a final, CJ. You talked us through it. You stepped in for Phil and took over interview duties ahead of that final race. Good performance, and now looking ahead to San Fran. Is the next step up the one on the podium?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, you guys can probably tell us the points a little bit better than we can right now. But yeah, we've certainly been close in the last 2 or 3. And since joining the team, we've been in it and around that top 3, and sometimes just missed and sometimes just made it. But yeah, it's nice to just make this one, and yeah, hopefully we can just make the next one, and some of the other results work out well, and yeah, make the top 3 final in San Fran.
Phil and CJ, we appreciate the time. We wish you the best of luck, and we will see you out in San Francisco. So the Canadians get into the event final. They finish in second place. It just all comes back to the start. Emily, Stevie, it was the start. It looked like Canada had it nailed, but not to be.
Yeah, so all 3 teams were really jostling for positions. GBR actually had the best Rolex time start, 300 millimeters behind the line at the gun. But New Zealand had that optimum position at the pin. Canada were the fastest team at the gun. As we heard them say, they were really pushing for that speed to roll over New Zealand, but it just wasn't quite enough.
No, it wasn't, because the New Zealand hold tactical advantage, and I think what the Kiwis did really well was they played short-term manoeuvres for long-term gains. They set it up here, they just matched with the Canadians, not to try and affect the Canadians now, but to affect them now, later manoeuvre, and I think that's what New Zealand did well through that whole race. All their manoeuvres were well thought out. They were a little bit ahead of the game when they were doing things. We're not going to hurt you now, but we're going to hurt you in 30 seconds, and well, from there on in, the pain was just dished out relentlessly, and for the fans of the Black Foils, it was an absolute masterclass. But of course, for them now, can they make it stick in San Fran?
Well, it's no question who the best team has been this year through 12 events. New Zealand with 5 wins out of 12 events. Well done. We send it now down on the water. Lisa Darmanin is with the big winners, Peter Burling and the Black Foils.
Congratulations, Pete. You got another win. You're looking pretty comfortable heading into San Francisco.
Yeah, awesome to get another win on the board. Really tricky conditions, really snakes and ladders, but to get 3 solid starts today, put together 3 solid races, and end up winning it. I think someone's pretty proud of the team behind me here.
Well, it feels like we're on the edge of San Francisco, but if I take you back to last year, your wing collapsed, you missed an event. Would you expect that you're in this position going into the grand final?
Yeah, I knew we had a long road ahead of us to be top of the leaderboard going to the grand final, missing an event. Not only the points side of things, but just the lack of training time, which this group's done less training time than anyone else in the whole league this season. So, yeah, it's been a tough season, but to just charge through that and get these wins on the board, something we're super proud of.
And can you enjoy San Francisco, the racing before the final, or is every race going to prepare you for that 3-boat shootout?
I'll be trying to win San Fran for sure, and then yeah, it was awesome to win the last final going into that as well. Give us a little bit of confidence, and we've obviously been working on that in the background for quite a while, and pretty happy with where we're at.
Thank you so much, Pete. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Peter Burley. And I'll tell you what, if you're looking to buy a top performance team, look no further than the Black Foils. They have won 5 of 12 events, and they get 10 more points as they win in New York City. Canada finishing in second, Emirates GBR in third. Australia just missing out, but they pick up 7 points. They stay ahead of France, Spain, and Rockwell, Denmark. 12 events down, 1 to go, and look at that lead. That is New Zealand on 93 points. Australia now moves into second place, 2 points clear of Spain. So the battle is on between the Kiwis and the Aussies. Does Spanish stay there? They have 5-point lead over France, Canada, Rockwell, Denmark, Emirates GBR, the USA in 8th, and then it's Germany and Switzerland. So all attention is turned out to the West Coast and the big showdown in San Fran. Well, from New York City on the East Coast, it's off to the West Coast and the city by the bay for the grand final. It's the iconic waters of San Francisco and the mighty Pacific in the shadows of the Golden Gate Bridge. This is where the showdown for the Season 4 championship will take place in 3 weeks' time. This is the Mubadala SailGP Grand Final.
Oh, Lord, disaster!
Mark number 1, high speeds across the board. Time has come to decide the top team of the year. The battle is on. And once again, that's July 13th and 14th, $2 million winner takes all. As the Kiwis continue to enjoy their time here in New York City, and it is now time for the prize giving. And I'll tell you what, Stevie, Emily, they are getting very used to this.
Well, yeah, the amount of prize money they're winning, they'll be able to buy the team themselves, I thought, fairly soon. They're doing a fantastic job. They know how to celebrate. Now, that is for sure. And already, maybe a little premature with that champagne. Not sure. Oh, we got the prize.
Oh, we go.
They got it. They're on time.
And our thanks to His Excellency Ahmed Al Shimari of Mubadala, title sponsor for this event, and the celebration is definitely on. As Emily, they seem to know what to do, how to uncork one of those.
Yeah, but it all comes down to if they can remember how to do that in San Francisco in 3 weeks' time.
$2 million on the line. So, Stevie, final thoughts as we turn our attention to the West Coast.
Well, I think the fleet is so close. They're all going to have learned a lot. It's just great to see SailGP. Look at the fans in the background. Look at the whole setup. It's just incredible in front of Manhattan. But yeah, $2 million, one race. Who's going to take it?
And what do you think?
It's all to play for. There are still 6 teams that could make that final, mathematically speaking, but it's definitely tough for some of them.
So it will be 6 teams fighting for 3 spots in the grand final in San Francisco, July 13th and 14th, with $2 million on the line. Before we say goodbye to New York City, we want to thank everyone that made this possible, and we want to congratulate the Black Foils. New Zealand win yet again, and they expand their lead. Australia moves into second, Spain drops to third, and it's all on when we get to the city by the bay. On behalf of Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from the New York Harbor. We will see you in 3 weeks' time in San Francisco, SailGP Season 4. Final day of the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
How many slingshots out of the gun?
Yeah, buddies, that's how you sail a race.